Right, it's a funny time. It's a funny time of the year for lots of things. Let me get my friends on straight away. No messing because the news
Hi.
tonight really has broken. Good to see you, Jeremy.
Hi. You all right?
Um,
Happy.
Strange events. I will say straight away, I'm not happy because I'm a Doctor Who fan. Divan and Dragon, good to see you.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, so I'm going to get straight into it because people are tuning in, and let's face it, it's about the news and not us. So I will quickly straight away put up the announcement that it seems to be breaking into British newspaper now that Doctor Who is on its way to being axed, that Ncuti's on his way. We know that RTD, I called it moonlighting just the other day, but it looks as though he might have been moving to pastures new, and it looks as though they're parking the series. I have the details, everybody, but what's your first response from what you've seen so far, Jeremy?
Well, what I've seen from the newspaper report is that Ncuti has left, and but I didn't actually quite say whether the show's been cancelled.
Right. Well, I will show all those details, everybody. Okay. So, Jeremy, not Jeremy, sorry, Divine and Dragon, your thoughts so far?
Um, I was rather expecting it. Um, Basically, you've kind of heard what I've said several times. All the signs were there. The hiatus in terms of making a commitment to a third year was not forthcoming. The fact that RTD was already on to other projects, the financial problems that'll be faced by Disney and the BBC, uh, it just creates a combination of things. And the most significant one, in a way, is Gatwa having to put his entire career on hold, waiting to hear whether or not there will be another season. You know, if that's not in the offing, then he's doing himself professionally a disservice if he doesn't move on. So it's
Yeah.
actually a smart move.
Well, let me show everybody the details, and then
Mm.
obviously Jeremy and Divine and Dragon and myself and the panel, we will bring the panel at the thread in a moment. But I think you want to see the details first, don't you? Now, it was the Sun, wasn't it, Jeremy, that broke in, was it 1985 that Doctor Who was axed? That was the title, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And here we go again. So, exterminate, question mark, Doctor Who facing axe as lead star Ncuti Gatwa quits amid woeful ratings and fans' fury at woke storylines. Now, me, you, Divine and Dragon, and the thread, we've all been there. Ncuti's exit as the Time Lord would be the earliest exit of a Doctor, bar obviously Chris Eccleston. At the moment, folks, I'll give you the news and then we'll come back to it, okay? Doctor Who is facing the axe with lead star Ncuti Gatwa poised to quit and the crew claiming to be laid off. The recent series suffered abysmal ratings, with fans outraged by the BBC shoehorning wokery into the storylines. A huge question mark hangs over whether Disney will renew their deal with the BBC, which is said to be worth 100 million. Crew working on the show in Cardiff are said to be furious at being left in limbo after filming wrapped last week. So, word on the set is that the BBC will shelve the series for at least. What's the noise there? Sorry. I'll. Sorry, folks. There seems to be a kind of jam in there. Word on the set is that the BBC will shelve the series for at least 5 years. The crew were told not to hold their breath for work on the series for at least 10 years. As we scramble to find work, those responsible get to ride off onto other well-paid projects without any repercussions. Filming wrapped on Friday afternoon, no fanfare, no celebration. And final one here, and then we'll really start to discuss various things here. Bosses have postponed the decision until Ncuti's second season's aired later this year. But let's face it, the Sun's onto it. We're in a position here. The Scot 32 is already believed to have filmed his regeneration exit scene, and crew fear the BBC will shelve the show after 62 years. Ncuti doesn't want to be tied to the series beyond this and plans to relocate to Los Angeles, with several Hollywood projects standing by for him. His team also see a lot of fan backlash from the series and don't want the perception of him still being the Doctor to get in the way of any work. Okay, so Jeremy, your thoughts now you've seen that?
Well, that's probably why they were still filming a few extra scenes, maybe to tie that all up.
Yes, my understanding is that those extra tidy up scenes and people saying, oh, but they're trying to make season 2 a little bit less problematic or something. The word on the ground is that those scenes were to actually make it an open-ended regeneration possibility for the end of season 2.
Yeah.
And then a bit like, what was it, Jeremy, in 1989? Sylvester goes off into the distance. Wilderness years start.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it would be sad if they really do cancel it for a long, long time. But as I said, they've got themselves into this mess, and they'll have to get themselves out of it if they want to.
There's a lot to discuss here, but Divan and Dragon, your thoughts on having heard that article?
Well, the article kind of confirmed what I was thinking. Again, looking at it from the perspective of an actor, Ncuti Gatwa has just seen an opening up of his career professionally. Hollywood beckons. That's an opportunity he'd be foolish to turn down. Right now, Doctor Who is considered rather a failed production.
Yeah.
And if he's associated with that, that sticks with him. He's only been with it for a couple of seasons. If he quickly moves on, he can disengage himself from this particular problem. As for the workers in the studios and the last scenes, we've discussed this before, an unsolid regeneration scene that's open-ended that allows them to either put it on hiatus or cancel it outright is a smart, creative mood, thinking that maybe in the future there will be the opportunity to go forward in some capacity. And the question is, as we all know, is there enough passionate energy from fandom to drive a reboot or a revival X number of years down the road, given how the last 7 years or so have gone?
Right. And there's a lot to discuss. And as we do discuss this, because the guaranteed bit seems to be the sun's onto it that Ncuti Gatwa's leaving. So if your main actor's leaving, okay, the series might still exist. But we also know that RTD has suddenly, out of nowhere, found this other project with another channel called Tiptoe, an adult queer drama away from Doctor Who. We then hear that the Doctor Who studios are in mothballs in Cardiff. We then see the reports that insiders, said there was no celebration at the end of season 2. There was no fanfare. And if I showed you this also, lads, so if we're adding all the clues together, we know there was a big convention recently, Gully 1. Disney had a zero presence at it and released no new posters, no promotions like they did last year. So, of course, Disney's not promoting it. Disney's gone stum. RTD's pretending in Doctor Who magazine that he's still all guns going and all the rest of it, but he seems to be going off to another channel to do a different project. Now, I know Stephen Moffat did do Sherlock and did do Doctor Who. It didn't really serve both of them very well, I don't think, anyway, when you do that. You're a showrunner of one, aren't you? You can't be looking at other projects. So what have we got factually here? Ncuti Gatwa's gone. Showrunner is at least very, very distracted by other projects. The studios are either empty or mothballed, and Disney's not interested. Am I missing anything?
You are not.
It's all there, isn't it? I'm afraid.
Now, in our threads have given us all of the facts that we need here. Bobby D, the Mirror is saying that the BBC's denying the show's been axed, but not about Ncuti leaving. And Bobby, I'm wondering, we've been here before in the 80s. This is called, a death by 1,000 cuts. You get one clue, then you get quiet. Then, unlike in the 80s, when we didn't have all these streaming platforms, fans are gossiping, fans are speculating, but fans nowadays are not, we're not stupid. We are looking at facts and figures. And the fact that season 3 wasn't commissioned, no announcement. So no announcement of Disney's season 3. Money's tight at the BBC. Ncuti Gatwa sounds as though he's leaving and is ambitious for Hollywood. So why does he want to be Why does he want this albatross around his neck if it's not doing very well and he's getting a lot of abuse? RTD, we were told, remember that gossip that they said he hadn't been axed, because they don't axe people like him. What they do is they move them on, don't they? They elevate them. He could have been told to find another project. There's clearly going to be a gap. Now, sorry, I'm Bobby D, that's really helpful, and obviously, I'll dive into the thread in a moment. But I'm just trying to get that kind of instant kind of reaction and thought process of what's going on. What's going on in your head, Jeremy?
I would think that Ncuti is gone from the show now, but what the BBC will do with the show probably is they'll say we're trying to find another investor for the series, and that's going to take a while. Whether it is Netflix or someone else who's going to stump up the money, and it will take a while. So there will be no Doctor Who for 3 or 4 years at least, I reckon.
We have been discussing this, Divine and Dragon, haven't we, about whether you cancel, reboot, rest, and we went through all the options. I did polls on my Twitter page. Most fans, knowing what Jeremy's just said, that if you cancel, there's no guarantee it'll come back. You know, everyone goes, oh, the 90s were the amazing wilderness years. That doesn't mean it's going to happen again. I'm gutted, Divine and Dragon, that we've had Chris Chibnall and Flux and Jodie Whittaker. And it seems that RTD, because I think all fingers are pointed at him, didn't learn that lesson and didn't re-establish Doctor Who as behind the sofa, gripping TV, just do what everybody expects Doctor Who to do. And instead, he continued with this experimentation, and he's served a hospital pass to Ncuti with some poor scripts. Isn't that what we said about Chibnall and Whittaker? This has been it's almost a decade now of mess.
At least, I mean, he's made a number of mistakes. He shouldn't have brought back David Tennant, for one. And he shouldn't have employed Ncuti Gatwa, which is the second one.
Yes.
And he shouldn't have gone woke and politically correct with these episodes. And that's where he slipped up. And then producing season 1 with season 2 with season 1, or season 1 with season 2 was another mistake.
Yeah, Divine and Dragon, your thoughts? I went on my first monologue there, it looks like.
No, that's a powerful monologue, and it really points out all the issues that we've really discussed in depth. He made profound mistakes coming back. He probably shouldn't have been the man to come back. I'm under the impression, based on all the stuff we've heard, that when he came back, he was only expecting to do the anniversary specials. When Disney stepped in, and he had an open hand to continue forward, he kind of was flying off the cuff, but he was also untethered from any restrictions to his personal passions, and decided to use that as a platform for those passions, for those agendas. And he was more than willing to do it. I would say there's some hubris here. Someone who is eminently successful, and he was profoundly successful 20 years ago, may feel that they are infallible at a certain point, and I think he felt he was infallible. So if he just does it, then it will be a success. We know that's not the truth. You have to do a lot of reflection. You have to factor in a lot of people, creatives, the audience, the zeitgeist of the moment to understand what really needs to be done. And what had to happen when he came back was a return to form at the bare minimum of what was going on 20 years ago when it first hit the airways. He chose not to go down that path.
Now, let me remind everybody, because people are joining us all the time. The thread is obviously on fire, and it's your program. I'm going to come to you in a moment. I just want to get some more facts on the table, folks, because in the Doctor Who magazine, of course, the showrunner will front as it is. He's still got season 2 to come yet. He was saying the show in 2025 is going to be bigger and madder and darker, taking wilder swings than ever. I have to say, you know me as a teacher, I wondered about this bit. I am confident that Doctor Who is forever. The future is bright. When he said that, there was an element of bravado. there was an element of kind of, you know, as you leave and you kind of go, you answer back, you have the final word. There was an element of that, you know, like, I've done what I can, but I think Doctor Who will always be this bright thing in the you know, in the universe. There's something here that's telling me that. Now, just for those tuning in, the evidence is here. Before I go any further, I just want to keep wrapping up that we're not just doing a kind of clickbait service. That's not what the Sense Fee has ever done. The Sun has reported tonight that the Doctor Who lead actor has quit because of the ratings and the fans' fury, and he wants to go to Hollywood. But of course, we all know that RTD has moved on to Channel 4 for now with another project. And of course, you can't really have a two-headed monster. What's he doing? Is he doing Doctor Who or is he doing this other thing? You can't do both at the same time. Stephen Moffat struggled with that. We know that Disney's not showing their hand for season 3. And as I just showed you a moment ago, Disney had no presence at Galley 1 convention, no posters, no promotion, no nothing. So we are in a situation where it is definitely looking like Ncuti's gone, and they've shot some scenes to maybe make it open-ended. So at the end of season 2, you can say your fingers are crossed that there's a slight chance the BBC might want to continue, but we've been here before. This is 85 all over again. The whispers, the slagging off, the infighting, and then eventually the Sun saying Doctor Who is axed. Then, as you know, we had our campaign, and as you know, they said, okay, we'll give it a hiatus. As you know, it came back, Trial of a Time Lord, and then, of course, it staggered on for a year or two, and then exit door. Jeremy, devil's advocate, before I go to the thread, is there anything I'm not... Is there anything where we might be going, no, hold on, it could quite easily continue here?
If they'd been professional, what they should have said to the Ncuti is, we'll do a special. It'll be a Dalek special, right? Because you've wanted to battle against the Daleks and, you know, meet the Daleks. And they could have done that. They could have done it like a Christmas special and then kept it back rather than this Sea Devils spin-off. And I think that would have been a good idea. But as it is now, he's left, and he's not going to commit to the show now anymore, and that's it. And I think Russell T Davies has left, and they're just waiting for Disney to come up with the next lot of money for season 3, which I doubt they will.
No,
I don't think they will.
Well. Do you know the media? I mean, as soon as Donald Trump got in and changed his executive orders, they all ditched DEI in seconds. These media people have no conviction. They try and test the wind, don't they? So as soon as Ncuti realised this is a dud, he wants out, and of course he's done his commitments. That's over now. You're not getting a third season by. RTD, I think, has been chastened. He wouldn't acknowledge it, but I think he's been chastened by this backlash.
He'll never admit that. He'll never admit that in a million years.
But I do think, as Divine and Dragon was saying, that he has been suffering from hubris, that he actually thought he was the man with the Midas touch on Doctor Who. But if we're in a situation where RTD's left and Ncuti's left, the main lead actor, after the last lead actor was a failure too, the BBC are clueless. It's well acknowledged, isn't it? The BBC have never known what to do with Doctor Who. And their saviour was RTD. Now, if RTD's gone and their main actor's gone, after their main female actor's gone, I think they will probably want to just go, we need to just have a think about this. What do you think in Divine and Dragon?
Well, I think that's kind of inevitable. Looking at it from the point of view of the BBC, you've got to have something that generates views. You've got to have something that generates positive press. They aren't getting anything from it right now. They don't have the capacity to finance it without assistance. They can't get confirmation from Disney or right now any other sources to guarantee its continuation. So at this point, the remaining episodes are a dead man walking. You know, we're watching Zombie Who at this point. And eventually it'll be laid to rest. The question is, whether they can find the energy and the passion and the financing to bring it back at some distant point. At that point, obviously, Gatwa is already gone. They'll have set up his departure.
The snag is, I'm sorry to interrupt. I don't mean to do that. Divine and Dragon, the snag is, isn't it, that, the media, as soon as they feel as though there's a dud, they all run away, don't they? Nobody wants it next. So its shares have dropped, haven't they? I mean, if suddenly BBC are saying we need a streamer, we need a co-partner, the co-partner, if they're sensible, would come in cheaper and get more power. This is like Dragon's Den all over again, isn't it?
Yes.
It's a bit of a poison chalice at the moment, and they probably need to just sort of rest it for maybe a year, 2 or 3, and take it from there.
Now, I'd like to keep this. It's almost like breaking news. I feel as though I'm Sky TV. But basically, Andy Gladhill is adding what somebody else said. Bobby D said, the Mirror are reporting the BBC statement saying it isn't axed. Remember, within each one, they're both telling the truth. The Sun says Ncuti Gatwa has quit. We know RTD is doing another project on another channel, 5 parts. Is that his get out? Is that his pension plan? Is that his bypass? You know that when we had Stephen Moffat on board doing Sherlock and Doctor Who, we had to have a blooming split season and all the rest of it. They couldn't do both. And let's be honest, when RTD's not focusing on Doctor Who, who's the person running the show? Because it's all power to him. So I think if RTD's distracted or moved on, Doctor Who's not happening. So when it says the BBC are reporting I've reported that the BBC says it isn't axed. Yeah, they haven't announced it. But they never announced that Millie Gibson was leaving. They never announced a lot of things. So, yeah.
If Russell T Davies is not going to be producing season 3, the BBC will put out the feelers and ask Stephen Moffat if he's interested. I mean, that's their reset button, the BBC. Who is going to stump up the money? So they'll have to find some other broadcaster or whatever, like Netflix or something like that, to give them some money to produce the next season.
And who do you turn to run it? Because the BBC have run to RTD twice. They ran to a co-partner for the Paul McGann movie, but that didn't seem to get traction in the end. The BBC then have had in-house. I mean, if you think of before RTD, it was J&T for how long? I mean, an in-house producer. And then again, the BBC didn't know what to do with it.
I mean, they might find somebody like Pete McTeague and ask him to take over. I don't know. Who knows?
But as we all keep saying, I know what you're saying, Jeremy. I mean, it's fair speculation. But the thing is, we want nobody who's been tarnished with this product at all.
Exactly.
Nobody. Now, I think it's fair to actually just this time I'll show everybody 1 or 2 elements, and we'll look into the tea leaves here, right? So you can see why the Mirror can be right and the Sun can be right, and our guessing has been quite close. So Doctor Who is facing that's what it's saying. It's facing the axe because Ncuti Gatwa's going to quit. Right? That's exactly where we are. But my God, it's not a good position. Your main man's about to leave. He's been tapped up from Hollywood. He's seen the light. He thinks he's bigger than the show. That's him. He's leaving. RTD, remember, picked him and put all his energy into supporting him when we all know behind the scenes Disney weren't happy with the Ncuti selection. So you've got a situation where the showrunner has put all his eggs in one basket, which is Ncuti. Ncuti's seen Hollywood. And then suddenly RTD has found another project to do. I thought we were busy. I've got season 3 ready. I'm flying away.
Well, while I'm not keen on the actor, I think a lot of the blame is Russell T Davies's writing. And, an actor can only do so much with what he's got. And I don't think he had a lot there in terms of the writing. But I mean, in one of the episodes, he was hardly there in it. So I mean, that didn't help either.
there's been so many misplaced choices. I don't know how
Yeah.
many streams, how many saloons I've done over a year when I've gone from an open-minded position to being very disappointed and then quite critical and angry with RTD. And all fingers are pointing that way. On this paragraph, backing up what you're saying, Jeremy, the recent series suffered abysmal ratings. You know, we had the deniers, the flat earthers, we had those lot. But it was. I mean, Wallace and Gromit has just won a BAFTA. You know, Gavin and Stacey's got 20 odd million, and there's Doctor Who limping along with a big budget. I mean, really?
Well, that's the point, isn't it? It's got a really big budget, and some of the other programs probably haven't had that budget, and they've got quite a 20 million.
Yeah.
Well, good writing brings in a large audience. Bad writing chases it away.
And as Jack Thursby says, the highest rated episode didn't have Ncuti in it. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So that was the first bit. Now let's analyze this. So I'm not going to read it all out again. I'll read out bits, and then Divine and Dragon and Jeremy come in about what you're reading in between the lines. So a huge question mark is hanging over whether Disney will renew their deal. Now, Gladiators, when season 3 was announced the other day, you hear announcements all the time. The White Lotus has just come on TV, and I think they've already started commissioning another series. You know how fast the media are. I can smell out success. They know when the national consciousness is talking. They know when they've got a good property. They knew it with Eccleston and Tennant, and they were commissioning fast then. It's not happening, is it? It's not.
No, it's not happening. If you know, and we've discussed this, I think, with Rachel in her professional career, there's always a very quick commitment to a new season. Part of the reason is promotion. If a show is successful, part of the reason is to lock in your talent, because you want the talent to stick around while you prepare for the next season, next year. If they can't find the money to pay for it, and they've got to wait 12 months, 18 months, 24 months before they can start the process over. What do you do with all the crew and the talent working in the studio itself? The studio space has to be used. You've got to put the set pieces somewhere. That takes money. People can't simply live on a hiatus indefinitely. They have to make a decision, or they have to move on.
And that's why we'll come to what some of the staff and inside. I feel so sorry for the people behind the scenes who've really been let down by a showrunner who's been out of control, who has been so busy on his ego and his agenda that he hasn't thought that any mistake he makes, and he takes the whole ship down with him. I mean, you know, if you're on an apprenticeship in Wales and you get a job at the BBC, Bad Wolf, and then you're on Doctor Who, we've seen The Unleashed. These people have passion. These people have skill. And what's really disappointing, and I have said this a little bit over the streams, which is the showrunner needs to have a steady hand, know exactly what he's doing. And because he's got nobody who questions him, he better get it right, because so many jobs are pinging on this. We've seen the reports, how much money it makes for BBC Wales, and now it's in doubt. That is all on you, RTD. Absolutely disgusting. The abysmal ratings because he couldn't pull a season together. I have argued till I'm blue in the face, we need episodes back. We need cliffhangers back. We need to make it feel like Doctor Who. But no, he wants to do his quick, wham bam, thank you, ma'am, 1 episoders. He hasn't really grasped it. And yet you watch all these series on TV doing 6 parts, Game of Thrones, cliffhanger, next show. And yet that's what's going on out there in popular TV. But RTD, I know better. We're going to do one-off, light touch, silly little programs, and we'll call it Doctor Who. It's because he can't be asked to sit down and plot carefully a whole season. He wants to sit on it. He wants to take the money, and he wants to take all the gravitas and all the kind of glory as he did last time. Trouble is, it's not worked.
No. Well, I'm reminded of 73 Yards. Okay, Gatwa was not in it. It was a highly rated episode compared to the others in the run. But it left such a level of plot holes. And his response was he didn't have to answer those. Basically, he's saying, I am RTD. Worship what I have done. It does not warrant examination. Just take it at face value. I say it's good, so you know it's good, and that's the end of it. That's not really an ideal form of leadership, because he's not taking in any input. He's not questioning himself.
And I almost found it, I was saying things ironically, because I was saying he's acknowledged by the BBC as a Doctor Who super fan, but any fan of Doctor Who would know exactly what to do with Doctor Who.
Exactly.
And he took us further away, turned us into soap opera. Now, what I want to go on to next, everybody, is that third paragraph, because this is it. Word on the set, word in Wales, word at Bad Wolf, is that the BBC will shelve the series for at least 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if that's the rumour, you know what it's like, especially Jeremy. Controllers of BBC One change.
That's right.
Money constraints can get even tighter, and suddenly what was seen as a half idea suddenly is kind of shelved. So, word on the set, and you know, you've all worked everywhere, people in the thread, who I will come to in a moment, but 5 years is the gossip. The crew were told not to hold their breath for work on the series for at least 10 years. Whoa.
Well, I certainly think it could be 5 years.
Well,
you know,
look at the last hiatus was 16 years. The McGann film notwithstanding, it was the 16-year gap.
Yep.
If they go on hiatus now, the show won't come back, revived or rebooted, until 2040. That's a long time.
A long time.
Yeah, I mean, when Russell T Davies was being interviewed on the One Show, what he was saying sort of indicated that it's party over. Game over.
Now, you see, I wasn't letting my ego run with me on my tiny, tiny, tiny little channel. I was asking other people their opinion. And remember, I'll remind everybody of this. 60% thought that RTD, this is 2 months ago, was getting it wrong. At that point, 20-odd% said cancel, 17% said reboot, 41% said continue, but they did say, but change the showrunner, continue, but should change the main. Basically, it was about around 80% were saying cancel it. And so isn't it a surprise that you go from the fans are saying, please cancel our favorite show because of the damage you're doing to it. And then the word at Bad Wolf is that the mothballs are there, the I mean, that blooming TARDIS set. How much did that TARDIS set cost?
An absolute fortune, I bet. Oh, yeah.
It's hardly been used. They've got a sledgehammer out and they haven't even skateboarded on it yet. You see, talk about waste of money. They did not need that set, that size, and that it was just a vast hangar. Yep. They didn't need that boom LED screen. They have wasted money. And he's chased the wrong things. Instead of saying, keep it as it always has been. With Chris Chibnall, I respect, I'm getting into RTD's head. I respect him as a mate, but he's taken us away from what Doctor Who should have smelt and looked like. So I'll get it back to that. And then we're on it. And then he can experiment in a few years' time. But he hasn't given us, what does Keir Starmer say? Fix the foundations. Well, he didn't fix the foundations of the Doctor Who show. He didn't.
No.
He's been pile driving into some dodgy tectonic plates of kind of naff messaging and nonsense. And look, I mean, Jeremy, we were joking about this the other day. Look at the season 2 writers. It's not promising, is it?
No, not really. But I won't be watching it. As I said, I tuned out on the season 1, 2 episodes in. I just thought, I've had enough. I can't watch this.
Now, Divining Dragon, look at that last paragraph. The insiders, the poor people who've worked on the show and have done nothing wrong, say, as we scramble to find work, those responsible get to ride off onto other well-paid projects. Now, come on, Divining Dragon, what's been in the news? RTD doing his Channel 4 queer drama.
Oh, yeah, that's clearly an example. The people at the top always have those golden parachutes. That's his. He's highly placed. It's the daily workers in the studio themselves, the crew, that are thrown under the bus in a situation like this. And, I'm reminded of other programs, other actors that are very conscious of the welfare of the crew. They would say, I want to keep this show alive. I want to keep it good. It's not just for me, it's for the entire cast and crew beneath me, whose livelihoods depend on this. And I respect that. RTD does not seem to have any of that kind of concern. It's okay, you guys are in my rearview mirror, we're done. Catch as catch can, I've got mine.
Yeah, you see, this is it, and he's burned and damaged the Doctor Who brand as well as Chris Chibnall.
Yeah.
And yet Chris Chibnall's moved on to writing a novel and moved on to writing a play. He's moved on. He's got his connections. RTD is still seen as the man with the Midas touch. And yet, well, okay then. Who else is at fault here then? Because I can't see who it would be. I must admit, Bad Wolf, were they not questioning? Were they not questioning with all this nonsense with the war games in colour and doing all that edit and sticking stupid stuff in? Does nobody say, let's respect Classic Who for what it was? As you know, in one of my streams, Jeremy, I even showed the screenshot from the Imagine documentary where the Bad Wolf team said the 80s Doctor Who was rubbish.
Yeah.
And they thought they were it. They thought they had the answer.
Oh, yeah. They thought they got the finger on the pulse, which they hadn't. They got their finger somewhere else. But at least there might be one consolation that the Classic Who, some of the episodes may not be messed about with in the future, but we can't put a cast iron guarantee on that. Come on, as Doctor Who fans, we know that this if this happens, whether we think there's damage being done to the program and therefore it's a blessing for a bit, if it's only for a bit, but then money stops streaming into the Doctor Who project. No more animations. We stop maybe getting Blu-ray collections. You know how this works. I think most of what's needed to be done most of it's already been done to a certain extent.
Yeah.
There's only so much that you can take the Blu-rays forward. I mean, they will go onto Blu-rays, but you don't need some of the extras to sort of enhance the classic episodes, which will cut down costs a bit.
But I'm just for people, we've got people joining us all the time because this is massive news. The official news I say the official news, the Sun broke it in the 80s, so I'm going with it. The Sun newspaper has said that the Doctor Who is facing the axe. That's quite heavy, that, because Ncuti Gatwa is quitting. But we know that RTD is already doing another project, and we know that the Doctor Who set's in mothballs and they're looking for other work and they're advertising their warehouse space. So come on, join the dots. Oh, and by the way, Disney haven't said anything about season 3, and at Galley 1 convention, Disney had no presence at all and weren't promoting. So come on, let's join the dots. I think we can do it. On this page, lads, there's even more, isn't there? Ncuti Gatwa is already believed to have filmed his regeneration exit scene, and the crew fear the BBC will shelve the show. So there was mooted discussion that there were these extra scenes, but there's been no fanfare, no celebration, I say now. Is that because of the hush-hush nature of this? And they want to get all their ducks in a row before they say... I mean, they won't announce that Doctor Who's rested. They'll use the word rested, probably, not axed.
Yeah.
After the season's finished.
I don't think they'll have a celebration.
No.
Whether they know the show is going to end or not. I mean, they just won't bother with a celebration. But I think it would have been more professional of the BBC to have said, we know Gatwa's leaving, right? But we'll hold the news back until season 2 is fully aired, and then release the news.
No, that's exactly what you do. If you announce cancellation prematurely, you're going to lose viewers. Some people will say it's over and they're going to walk away. So they can't announce it officially until after that's done. At the same time, if the regeneration scene was not open-ended, but they had already, quote, cast a prospective inheritor of the role, and the question was just how far down the road they'd have to wait before it came back, that would have a different tenor entirely. and it would be very hard to keep that quiet. There is no successor to Gatwa right now. There is no work forthcoming. They've got to keep the show alive on life support to as a facsimile of a successful production until June when it wraps.
Now, Michael Nemo's asking, Jeremy, can you remember what language was they used after the McCoy series finished? Because I was in Australia backpacking, so I can't recall. I mean, did they say it was? Did they say anything? Because you know what the BBC are like. Sometimes they just didn't mention it, whether there was another series or not.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where they say, "Oh, it'll be back in the not too near distant future."
But J&T obviously knew because they did that last scene, didn't they?
But, there was always hope, you know, perhaps maybe they might relent or change their mind, or somebody might come along and. You know,
can I just say the other thing is, as you were both kind of hinting at there, season 1, 2005, what happened? We're only about one episode in, and we heard the lead actor was leaving. We got the news that he was leaving before we saw the episodes. So as you were saying, Divine and Dragon, here we go again. And but the commonality is RTD.
That's right.
Yeah.
So,
well,
as we've seen what Chris Eccleston has said about the Bad Wolf team and RTD, and John Barrowman feels let down too, let me may say.
See, at that time, we didn't know what was going in the back room, as it were, so to speak. We always thought that everything was rosy, but it was a kind of surprise that Christopher Eccleston left in the first year. But then David Tennant took over. But I was never madly keen on Christopher Eccleston. The jury was out on him. But I mean, as I said, he'd only done 1 year, so you couldn't really make up your mind about him.
No, but when he left under a kind of cloud.
Oh, we know now, yeah. We didn't know then.
And all the fingers from Chris Eccleston seem to be pointing towards RTD and the Bad Wolf team. Ncuti has been plucked from sex education, but in a way, RTD didn't get him in time because he did the Barbie movie, and the Barbie movie has got his connections to Hollywood now. Then he does the show, and the fans don't like it. And you can imagine Ncuti going, I need to get out of this. This is tanking, and I need to be in Hollywood where I could do Hollywood movies. And this is pulling me down. And RTD has fought the corner saying Ncuti is charismatic, is amazing, is a hottest property. Disney have said we're not too happy with the characterization. Hey, it's my show. I understand Doctor Who, and of course everybody goes with that. And of course the ratings tank. People are turning away. Disney are kind of going, well, we did say, and you didn't trust our opinion. I'm not too sure there's much of a kind of partnership here. RTD suddenly is told, well, we don't want to give you the elbow, but if you can find another tasty project, you seem to like doing your gay dramas in Canal Street, so off you pop.
Yeah, I mean, there's been lots of indications over the year where they've played all the wrong cards, and they've made mistake after mistake after mistake, and and when I've looked at it, I think, well, I wouldn't have done that, but obviously they did. And for instance, I mean, putting the show on the internet before, or on iPlayer, before you actually have a BBC One screening, which is absurd, because you're taking away the ratings away from the first screening of the episode. So it's going to get lower ratings.
Now, what to find interesting here is, right, so let's kind of get it all in order. With the rumours are now that it's facing the axe and Ncuti Gatwa's leaving, and RTD obviously is doing another project. Here's what he said as recently as January. But there's proper excitement building amongst the team as we've just heard from the team. The team have just been saying that they feel shafted as the season approaches. The shot in the Christmas trailer, the last shot of all the Doctor flying or falling or tumbling, I think the word's tumbling, tanking, I think is the word. One shot in the middle of the most astonishing sequence. Yeah, sequences RTD aren't selling it. But then after that, he obviously also said, the studio will flare into life briefly, I hope in February for a few days. Remember those specially shot trailers we did in the old days? I like them. Maybe it's time to do that again. And I remember saying, He's had his moments to stop, to pause. Maybe he's been told off. Maybe he's been scared by the backlash, and he's kind of thinking, I wonder if I can fire up the old way we did it and try and get it back on an even keel. Is it desperation? Is it, last chance saloon? When I look back at these quotations and where we are, it all makes sense, really.
Yeah. But I mean, what's the point of spending a load of money now promoting season 2? Pointless.
Oh, it's the last thing we need. When was the last decent season of Doctor Who, everybody? When was the last decent season where we didn't feel conflicted? I'm struggling. It's a decade. It's a decade. It
really
is about a decade. For me, the last decent season was Capaldi's second year. The cracks were showing, but I did not have too many problems. I could survive on it.
It was watchable.
It was watchable. By the time his last year came around, and they were making some very poor choices narratively, you could see that it was going in a bad direction, and we've not had any relenting of that bad direction since.
Now, does that call into question? Now, I'm going to bring in the thread now. I promised it. I don't enough. I need to kind of, make sure we've discussed these things. Randy says, can we now make the last 7 years apocrypha? The point is, I have resisted this Bobby Ewing coming out the shower thing, but I have to say, it has been such an unremitting disaster. The Chibnall years and now the RTD years, that you do start to think, should we just write it off as a bad thing and go back to when Capaldi regenerated? I'm starting to wonder.
Well, it's creatively, it's a distinct possibility. I've run some story ideas before you. I think it's possible narratively to construct a story that undoes a lot of what we've seen. That allows the BBC and Bad Wolf to save face, but actually creates a new narrative going forward. The problem is there is so much bad writing and there is so much ill will.
There's no sci-fi writing though, is there now?
No.
Yeah, it's not there. So how do you go forward? The only thing you could probably do is a wholesale reboot, or continuation with no connection to the original series.
Now, as we say that, Ron here says, because I did ask the question, when was the last decent season of Doctor Who? Now, people are saying 2017, 2015. No, Ron, you're saying basically classic Who, and maybe there has to be a damn good think now that has New Who taken Doctor Who into an area, but they've got 20 years out of it, but it was always going to have an expiry point because of it eating itself, because it was all soap opera and it was all lovey-dovey and it was all the Doctor being like a human. And as soon as he went down that road, it could have had popularity for a season, but I think he diminished it. Whereas Doctor Who escapist, asexual, just getting on with saving the universe could go on forever. I think New Who, as Ron seems to be hinting at here, maybe we need to go back to a kind of classic Who vibe, and New Who was the big balls up.
Definitely make it retro and more funky, and make the TARDIS console a lot smaller, back to how it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
But you've got to have very good writing. But I mean, any new producer away from Bad Wolf is going to have to be fantastically clever to unpick what's been done. So they probably would just say, I'm not going to bother. What I'm going to do is just start complete fresh, a blank page, and we start fresh.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, I'm starting to think you really just need to just do, if you did do it now, I think you have to ban any reference to old Who. No old doctors, no old companions, no old villains for a while. I think you just have to get out into that universe, write some good scripts, make the Doctor extremely mysterious, and
but the thing is, you've got to have a hook to get the audience in, and the Daleks and the Cybermen, the Ice Warriors and the Sontarans. Those are the hooks to get the audience in. I mean, when I first watched Doctor Who in season 7, which was 1970, there were no Daleks or Cybermen, Ice Warriors or Sontarans, because they just had not a bland season, but it was like a fresh season of new monsters.
Yeah.
But because it was so good, I was hooked.
Well, you see, Jeremy, we're all hoping for season 7. Well, we know it's coming. We're waiting for season 7's Blu-ray to come in March.
Right. Yeah.
And as you're just saying, it was a new Doctor, new rules were established, but he's still very Doctor Who. The Autons were new, the Nestine consciousness was new, the Silurians were new. And as you go through that season, we didn't have the Master then. Basically, the writers had to be clever, imaginative, even though they had a kind of limitation of budget and a limitation of being exiled on Earth. And yet everybody, all the Doctor Who fans are saying, we can't wait to watch season 7 again.
Yeah.
So we can do it. We don't need a year with Cybermen with stupid blooming collars and robes, Daleks who have a blooming nervous breakdown when you touch them. We need a season where we had clinical, ruthless monsters, and you think, oh my God, how does he get out of this?
And it's interesting because when I first watched Spearhead from Space, I didn't know anything about Patrick Troughton or what went on before. So it was John Pertwee falling out of the TARDIS, and that was the mystery. So it was anybody that was new to the program, like myself. This was a fresh new program because I didn't know the back history of it. So that is quite a good template for any new producer to follow on from.
Yeah, you do the foundations of the program, you re-establish Doctor Who as Doctor Who, and then by the time they got to the 10th anniversary, then you can tinker with something new again, the 3 Doctors.
Yeah.
But only then did you do the past. Daryl Joyce, good to see you here. I'll have to try and get you back on. Hopefully it'll end the RTD adoration within the BBC. The sooner Doctor Who goes, the sooner we can get past the 5-year hiatus, and maybe attitudes within the media will... That's the other point that we haven't actually said enough of yet, which is, yes, we do need this era of DEI and woke nonsense to be passed before Doctor Who comes back. Because how many times have I done a show, Jeremy and Divine and Dragon, when I say, shall we have the Autons back? Would you like the Daleks to come back? And everybody says, not while this present era's going. So we've answered our own question. We need a gap.
Yeah, the only, as I said, the only thing that it's such a shame that it didn't bring back the Daleks, and this new Doctor didn't battle against the Daleks. But that would have been a good story to end on season 2. Now, whether that's what's going to happen or not, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Toonami, it's quite clear to me that if you're doing reshoots 9 months after an episode originally wrapped, in the run-up to transmission, amongst major uncertainties, something is up. And the rumours, as you know, is some sort of regeneration open-ended. Now, Matrix Lord was our show, and you've been fighting the fight on the other side of things. So what have you got here? Matrix Lord, Bad Wolf said the Disney relationship is solid. Matrix Lord, can you explain what's going on here? Because we have got rumours. Now, the Sun's jumped on this and said, Ncuti's leaving. RTD seems busy with other projects. Disney have not said a word and weren't promoting at Galley 1 when they did last year. So what do you think's going on? Because your version of things is the opposite to what we seem to be seeing, if you get my gist. Right, Charlie, but the Daleks are a narrative dead end. Everything that can be done has been done. There's no threat. I agree with you. I think Jeremy will agree with you. I mean, we all know the problem with the Daleks, if you have them en masse. I think you need to go back to a killer squad of 3 of them down a corridor.
Yeah, but they only had 3 Daleks in Day of the Daleks.
Yeah,
and that was effective enough. Even for me when I was watching it first time round, I assumed that there were lots of Daleks, so I was fooled.
What did we need? My favourite bit, like the Daleks arriving in the time vortex underneath the railway bridge.
Exactly.
Dalek in the dark. Bang! You're on the money. That's it. It's a ghost of Dalek appears. we've been RTD is like a magpie. He sees he sees everything glittery and he wants to take it, but he's forgetting that we don't need to see 2 million Daleks. We don't need to see all that nonsense. We don't need a Dalek that feels. What we need is a Dalek that kills. That's what we want.
Mhm.
I don't want a Dalek having an existential crisis and asking for a counsellor. I don't even know if I want the Daleks moaning, saying, "We want Davros back. We want Davros back. We need Davros." In the end, you're going, "You're very needy. Just get on with it." The Sontarans don't have this complex. I know they now need chocolate thanks to Flux. You know, New Who has no clue about Doctor Who, have they? Sontarans need chocolate. They need an e-fix. Daleks need a counsellor. The Doctor needs a fella or a woman or somebody. New Who has taken us down the most outrageous road when you think about it, when actually all we wanted to do is, how's he going to get away from the Fendal? How is he going to deal with this Sutek situation in the original? That's all. How's he going to get, commit genocide with the Daleks in Genesis of the Daleks? How's he going to get the time ring back? That's what we wanted. We didn't want to know. Do you know what? Has he got the hots for Sarah? Unbelievable. It's quite base when you really think about it. RTD, it's quite base. And it's gaslighting. It's kind of saying, I don't have many sci-fi tricks, but I can show you a bit of love. I can show you 2 million Daleks made on CGI, but I haven't got a plot. Does Bad Wolf make sense when you really look at it now? Bad Wolf everywhere. Bad Wolf, Bad Wolf, Bad Wolf. Does it really make sense?
No.
I mean, there were some very good episodes in New Who, without a doubt, and obviously some very duff ones. But like there are in any season.
Well,
I mean, Midnight was very, very good.
Oh yeah.
And see, if Matrix Lord, thank you for getting back to us, says they're filming stuff in secret, they normally have loads of fans finding where they're filming. They normally announce where they're filming. You know what it's like, Matrix Lord. We get people showing you footage everywhere. There's not much in secret nowadays. Now, if they're filming in secret, my question would be why? Why? Why would you be filming in secret?
I mean, unless it's for the spin-off.
Well, that's finished as well. That's finished.
Oh, it's finished, all right.
Yeah, they're doing post-production now.
Well, these pick-up shoots for little extra things that have to be fixed, but nothing new and original. You have to remember, if it's all about the publicity, if people catch the shooting going on and they're excited, that's free publicity. They're not going to do it in secret.
I can't. I'm trying to understand why Matrix Lord is saying they're filming stuff in secret. I mean, the BBC at the moment need to get, he's just. They might be filming in secrets, if you want to say, Matrix Lord, some trailer for season 2, because it sounds as though, as RTD said, they want to make some new material, like when, say, Belinda Chandra will talk to the camera, a bit like Donna Noble did before the season 4. But I think that's all we're talking about. Let's go back to the brass tacks here, everybody. I mean, the sun have jumped and the sun has waited, but the sun is no fool. Here we go. Just to remind everybody who's joined us, the Sun newspaper, who, as you know, was the first to say in 1985 that Doctor Who is axed. And as you know, the BBC finally had to admit that was the truth. They had such a backlash that they then said it was going to be rested for 18 months. But the point was, the Sun was right. Here it says, Doctor Who is facing the axe because Ncuti Gatwa has quit because of the fact that the show's tanking and he doesn't want to go down with the ship. Looks as though but you see, you could say what's done is done. The trouble is, I can't believe we're in this situation when we're basically at half time. There is still a whole season and a spin-off. We've got 13 episodes still to see of a version of Doctor Who. And already the rats are leaving the ship. Now, come on, if this was working, if this was successful, the vibes and the stories and the rumors are the opposite. It's all about how amazing it is.
Yeah.
We know what's happening. The rats are leaving the ship, and it's because they all do know it's tanking.
It's going to be interesting when, say, Russell T Davies has to do an interview before the series airs. What's he going to say, or are they going to just have pre-recorded interviews from ages ago before all of this? But I mean, I also thought it was very noticeable when Gatwa wasn't interviewed recently, and I thought, I know he was in a play, but there was no even pre-recorded interview to say what he thought about the series, etc.
No. Well, Andrew Evans here. Ncuti was down in Cardiff filming last week. He was seen down the local gym. Well, that would work because, of course, in the Doctor Who magazine, he did say, as I'll put it here, he did say, let's get it right, the studio will flare into life briefly, I hope in February for a few days, some specially shot trailers. So Andrew Evans, that makes sense that they'd do that. Of course, it would also make sense that Ncuti needs to come back to film a regeneration, to film something to make it open-ended. They need Ncuti, the main man, and they need him while he's still under contract. Because let's face it, if his contract's almost up and they're running out of time, once he's off to Hollywood, they can't pay him to come back. It will end up in a Colin Baker situation where Sylvester McCoy has to wear a blonde wig.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's going to happen again.
Yes, they want to make sure that doesn't happen, don't they? They want to make sure that they've got it all kind of lined up. So, yeah, let's see what else everyone's got. So, yeah, I think two things can be right at the same time there, lads.
I mean, as I say, I always thought when Russell T Davies was going to take over from Chris Chibnall, I thought, oh, wonderful, great. He's going to turn the series around. And boy, was I wrong on that one.
Now, Matrix Lord is helping us out. It's a good stream, this, to kind of mix it up.
Yeah.
The season 2 finale is connected to the spin-off. Yeah, I know you've always said that, and I don't doubt it. They can't change the finale. They can add a scene, no Matrix Lord. They can make it more open. They can make it just left-handing. I mean, they can do that. It's only a scene. They did it with Sylvester McCoy and Sophie Aldred. You just had a scene with them walking down a hill. That's all you do. Epic fans. Go on.
I bet there's going to be alarm bells ringing at the Doctor Who magazine and Big Finish and character options. I think you're going to think, what are we going to do with all this stock that we've got?
I know it's well,
especially the figures of Gatwa.
Well, especially considering we were promised for season 2 what he thought was going to be the big push: monsters, old faces, Doctor Who lore, pantheons, friends, legacy, myth, beasts, quarries, spaceships, cameos, robots, rebels, shocks, songs, lasers, Mrs. Flood. I asked the big question: why the hell weren't there in season 1 if it's so blooming good? But within that, and we saw Juno Dawson in an interview saying that their episode was the most expensive Doctor Who episode ever. And I say straight away, and expensive doesn't mean it's Doctor Who. In fact, the more expensive a Doctor Who episode is, the more it just pretends it's aping Hollywood and isn't Doctor Who. And I have to say, people can keep telling me, oh, there's a great sequence. We've spent piles of money. That's the biggest set we've ever had. I couldn't give a toss. Is it a good story? Does it make sense? And as a lot of Doctor Who fans have been saying, is what's put in front of us actually Doctor Who? I really don't care whether it's the most expensive episode. Is it Doctor Who?
Exactly. Just picking up from what Simon was saying in the thread,
yes.
we still do love Doctor Who deep down. But obviously this recent reiteration is not quite, well, it's certainly not quite my cup of tea anyway. I don't know about anybody else.
Well, Divine and Dragon and me. Divine and Dragon has sent me over and he's referenced them. He's sent us essays, conclusions, ways of getting out of this mess. He's put more passion into it than some people I find evidenced from some of the scripts. When you get the showrunner says he can't be bothered to tell us why the woman screams when in 73 yards. So Simon Anthony, it's all the more important now to show love and support for the show we love or we won't get it back. But what's that based on, Simon? We're not going to do a Doctor in Distress record, are we? I don't think that's it.
We did show a lot of love when the show was cancelled. We tried to get it back and have campaigns, and it didn't quite work anyway.
But it's been hollowed out, and Simon Anthony and Jeremy, I'll ask Jeremy and Divine and Dragon this. It feels different this time.
Yes.
When they asked Doctor Who in '85, I was at college. I saw the Sun newspaper at lunchtime. My heart sank. It was like the whole of my childhood was ripped up. And then I could sense that everybody was going to fight and write letters and the switchboard would be jammed. And that's what happened. And we showed our love then. The thing I think, Simon Anthony, you need to realise, because I realise it myself, and I'll ask the two lads, our passion's been hollowed out. And our passion is more protective now, which is, I don't want to save the show now because it's getting destroyed now. I'd like it to be taken away and a convalescence and then come back. That's our passion. Our passion has gone into self-protective mode.
Oh, yeah.
That is the perfect way of putting it, Brendan. For me, in my 60s, I can go back and I can revisit Classic Who. If I'm in a good mood, I can go back and actually revisit some of New Who without too much difficulty. I don't think I'm going to be revisiting anything of the last 7 years. It's too painful to watch, and I don't want it to continue if this is the type of story that's going to be created. You have to remember, each new bad season, each new bad choice adds another layer of dirt on the coffin of Doctor Who. And they're going to make it inaccessible. At some point, it's going to not be buried 6 foot under. It's going to be buried 6 miles under.
And then it gets into that fan nonsense, doesn't it? Because you feel as though a new showrunner's going, how do I unravel it? And as we've said earlier tonight, it would force a new showrunner to say it would have to be a completely different show. As in separate from this, no link. Absolutely no link. And I don't think you could ever do a link again. And I think a lot of us are at that point going, please make a new Doctor Who in the future, but don't link it to this. Because trying to link it to Gallifrey being destroyed for the umpteenth time, linking it to the Cyberlords, linking it to, no, just leave it alone and we'll try and forget about it. And some idiot fan who lives as some sort of hermit in some cave can come up with some concoction, but the rest of us want to move on. The rest of us have a life. And I actually think we need to just start enjoying Doctor Who. So somebody needs to cauterize, amputate, end it, and then bring Doctor Who back as it was in 63, really. Bring it back. Make the TARDIS interior look something that we've never seen before. Use the budget in that way. Something different with the effect. Make the Doctor like aloof, different. And you're going, oh my God, for 2026, 2027, that's so unusual. Let's get back to it. Let's get back to it. And we don't know why he's traveling. We don't know what's going on. And there's no story and there's no origin and there's nothing. Please, God, we need to get back to that. And use your fancy stuff with you've got the best theme tune in the world. You've got the best concept of this TARDIS that's bigger on the inside. You've got so many amazing, unique examples of why this show should be just storming it. And then you've got the behind the settee sofa concept, which is you are allowed. It's a program that's allowed to scare kids. This is hot stuff. Get on with it. Now, now, sorry, lads, I've done another little spiel here, but Matrix Lord is helping us out. Because if these are his sources, the big mystery is the rumored death in the finale. I heard Ruby Others said Mel. I've heard Mel a few times, yeah. And he says, if Ruby or Mel died in the season 2 finale, it will destroy the Doctor. Why? He flipped out. He abandons. Hey, Adric died and he carried on quite easily.
There we go.
Sarah
That's right.
Kingdom. Sarah Kingdom died. There's a few died over the years. He abandoned Clara, Face the Raven. He abandons unit and the Earth running off in anger. Oh well, yeah. Well, it saves him hitting a wall. They call him later and he doesn't answer. Now you have said that a few times, Matrix Lord. I will acknowledge that you've that's been your storyline, but I still don't think that means they can't do an open-ended finish. He goes off into the universe, upset. We never see him again.
Mm-hmm.
Well, even if they kill off Gatwa as the Doctor, they've still got David Tennant, who's the original Doctor.
Yes,
sat at home.
I mean, oh God, this is why. I mean, you've just nailed it, Jeremy. Unless no, we can't have David Tennant back because he's just been doing the proclaimers at the back.
But you wouldn't, because anybody that's rebooting it, if they said, "Would you want to come back, David Tennant, just to do one off?" No, say no, I'm not coming back. They say, "Fine, we'll just get another actor," and he comes out of the TARDIS with a cloak. And nobody noticed the difference, and he just regenerates under the cloak. You know?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I still wish we could do. I can't because RTD can't be on it. Pete McTee can't be on it. None of the present crew, but Paul McGann is hand in there. We could have these parallel specials that you do a couple a year, and it keeps Doctor Who in the national consciousness while they decide what they're going to do with the full show. They won't do that because nobody thinks like that. The trouble is, they could.
Yeah, well, but no actor is going to just do one special per year. I don't think, and I don't think that would be quite feasible.
Well, sorry. I think no, Jeremy, you've got a good observation. I think we're in a situation where I used to think one special a year to keep it in the public consciousness, keep it alive. But the problem is the BBC does still have at its heart an agenda that it wants to kind of encourage or push, which means they're going to want the stories to reflect that in some way. They aren't at a position where they're willing to relinquish the DEI components of their worldview, and that's hard to get around.
I mean, I honestly think they need. I think they're coming to their senses now. I think this is what's happening here. Now, remember, just join all the dots up. RTD's on some other project. Yeah. I mean, when you read the writer's tale, it was all encompassing. RTD had no spare time. He's co-written the spin-off. The man, he will be tired. I'll grant him that. So I'm sorry. I don't think he can do what Stephen Moffat does. I think RTD is in one project at a time. And Doctor Who, he's pushed for 2 series. He also did say he's written a lot of season 3 scripts. Then you suddenly hear that he's been commissioned to do something completely different on a completely different channel, right, away from Cardiff. I mean, the whole thing is bang. You see a little tweet from Jane Tranter about, we hope we see you again and I'll be coming back one day and all that stuff. Basically, trying to glue the dots together, pretending that everything's okay. So they've advertised the warehouse space. It's in mothballs. Sounds like he's leaving. RTD's doing other stuff. We all know the ratings are tanking. We all know the BBC is trying to cost cut. We all know it's one of the streams I never got around to doing, which is on the news. A lot of BBC drama projects are being paused.
Oh, yeah. I don't doubt it because the BBC is in debt. They admitted it themselves by half a billion or something, some crazy figure. And that's why they've had to cut the World Service to save £1 million.
And remember, we are the customers. If the Doctor Who fans are worried about it, are critical of it, People like you, Jeremy, your house, you've got your K9, you've got your Cybermen, you've got your Sea Devil mask, you've got all the books, you've even got books in foreign languages. You are a passionate, lifelong Doctor Who fan. Yet it was about a year ago now we had the meeting and you said, I can't watch this. There's
That's
loads,
right.
there's loads like you, aren't there?
Oh yeah, I would definitely say so. And you know, I would have never thought, say, 20, 30 years ago, if I said you're not going to watch the show because you're not fed up with it, but you just don't like the way it's been produced, I'd say you're crazy. I will never stop watching it. I will always continue watching it. And, you know, here we are where I'm just thinking, I just don't want to watch it. I will watch the classic series and some of New Who, because some of that was very good and entertaining. But this new reiteration, I just can't get into it.
What does everybody in the thread? Right, we're going to play a game now as I ask Divine and Dragon a question. Everybody in the thread now, I want to ask you a question. You've seen the facts as they've been set out. You've heard the rumors on top of that. I've even showed you Matrix Lord giving us a different kind of slant on things. What's your water saying? Is your water saying that it's over? Is your water saying, no, Ncuti's leaving and the BBC are just trying to work out what to do next? What's everybody thinking? Is Doctor Who dead? Is it axed? Is it just Ncuti's leaving and they're having a think? What does everybody think now? Divan and Dragon, what do you think? What would you put your money on?
I'd put my money on this is axed. It's already done, but they can't announce it until they finish airing the episodes. That's the way it's going to go.
Because as you said, it would affect the ratings if you killed it early.
Precisely.
Right, Jeremy, what's your water telling you?
Well, I would say that obviously Gatwa's gone, and the BBC are saying, well, we'll just put it in mothballs, but we won't say it's cancelled. They'll just try and find another company, whether they can produce it or not, or give us some money. Maybe like Disney, well, obviously Disney won't, but I don't think, or Netflix to produce it in the not too near distant future and keep it at that. But as I said, you know, Doctor Who will still go on. We've got the magazine, you've got Big Finish, CDs, and you know there are other outlets where you know that the show is being produced in a different form, one or the other. You know, computer games, that sort of stuff. So the brand will still continue, as it did when the show was cancelled back in 1989.
But if they get a chance, they need to have Doctor Who starting to look like it should. As XSM says here, they reckon it's axed because they've found out the hard realization that the younger TikTok generation just don't dig Doctor Who. I was noticing that in my last year of teaching, the kids didn't know what Doctor Who was when they saw my moving desk that went from, I moved classrooms every hour and I had to take stuff with us. My desk that moved with us had a big shield at the front and I had a full-size Dalek on it. And the kids in the last year of teaching said, what's that? Is that R2-D2? They really didn't know what it was. And so it's lost it. I mean, to me, that's mad. Everybody knows what a Dalek is. Everybody knows what a TARDIS is. Everybody knows about the Doctor, even if they don't watch Doctor Who. It's in the national psyche. And then you've got all these kids at school going, is that R2-D2? I mean, I was insulted. I thought, that's a Dalek. Because the joke was lost on the kids, because I thought every class, my desk, it was a bit like one of those cocktail desks. It can go higher or lower, right? So when I was pretend angry, my Dalek would elevate. And I thought the joke was the kids were going, oh, no, they probably thought, what's he messing on with this R2-D2 for? You know? Honestly. So, yeah. Peter, good to see you. Not once a year, but there's no way they could do McGann justice, because this group would need to go totally. I mean, I meant like specials in the serial format. Yes, I think I was starting to come to the conclusion when I said specials, and I was going to say to Jeremy and Divan and Dragon, what I meant was, I don't fancy this, but I realise it's a wounded animal. A trilogy of specials, say at Easter, a trilogy of specials, say at Halloween. So you get 2 cliffhangers. one story over 3 episodes. Now that starts to become a bit tastier for an actor.
Oh, yes.
Yes, but what they'd have to do now is to try and find a very popular actor to take on this role.
And as somebody in the thread was saying, Jeremy, RTD could get top stars, but he doesn't write good scripts for them. He's letting them down.
Yeah.
Well, if RTD was gone and they brought in a well-named, recognized, and a popular face, and this actor happened to be a devoted fan of the show, and we've had some devoted fans actually come in and perform, who also has some weight and says, you're not going to destroy the story while I'm in it, and has the ability to put their foot down, maybe you could do that, because you've got pressure coming from the person that you're using to galvanize it and bring it back. But again, what actor is willing to risk being associated with a damaged brand?
Well, yeah. But Paul Richards has said in the thread Michael Sheen, which I think would have been a fantastic choice.
Very distinguished.
And he's certainly very versatile. And some of the parts that I've seen him, and I thought he'll make a great Doctor Who. And I thought Russell T Davies would have chosen him, but he didn't.
Do you know what? My conclusions are solidifying around a few things. And one of them is we almost now, it doesn't matter. I almost think it doesn't matter who the actor is. And let me park that for a second. Obviously, there's got to be some some merit to them. But what I'm thinking is, then you need a very strong writing team led by a producer who has thought out how we have all these strange forces in the same universe. I think they need to sit down and do a Gene Roddenberry Doctor Who. Once they've decided what their template is for the new show, notice what I'm saying here. I'm not saying join all the dots. If you want to have Cybermen in the new series of the new show with Daleks and Sontarans and all the rest of it, I think it's good to sit down and go, well, how come they're not always fighting each other all the time? Is it like the Klingons? There's quadrants or something. I want somebody to sit down and make some proper rules. Because as people are saying in the thread, I don't want to hear, I mean, it's all right. Sorry, I've got it in front of me. Sorry, Second Life. Doctor Who was totally destroyed when William Hartnell was replaced as the first Doctor by the Timeless Child. There's no coming back from that unless a retcon is announced in advance. And I'm backing what you're saying. We need a strong writing team to go, this is the rule, can't be changed. And so therefore, you can't have Joe Martin waffling on saying, I could be the first Doctor. That will not be in the, I think we need to actually set it. It's a bit like saying that the British Constitution isn't written. I think we now need a written law of Doctor Who. I think, where are the Cybermen? Where's Davros? Where's the Daleks? I think it just needs to be sketched out in a way that every writer can join in on that, the Routons and all that waffle.
Well, that is continuity and consistency.
Yeah. But I think it's needed, because then you'd have to, you could shut these writers up, and you could shut, everybody's speculating now going, there may have been somebody before Doctor 2 and Doctor 3. It has to stop. It has to stop. There
has to be a script editor.
Yeah.
And there has to be a head of series and serials to check upon these writers and producers, etc., to make sure that they're actually following the origins of the character.
What I'm going to suggest to you both now is, I think in the future, they when they do their press releases and promotions and stuff, I think in every interview, a strong writing team producer would say, I'm not telling you which number Doctor this is, but they're after all the ones you've seen. Do you know what I mean? They're just because we are getting to the point, you can't say this is the 22nd and the 22nd Doctor meets the 14th. I think that's got to stop. I think we need him to be the Doctor. And I think it's quite easy for a production team to say, I'm never going to tell you the number. It's irrelevant. It's timey-wimey. Irrelevant. It's the Doctor. It's the story of the Doctor. And when he dies, you will see a regeneration into a future Doctor. You can see some continuity then, but I'm not telling you where they fit into this. Big gap. End of it. And just leave it. There's your mystery.
There you go. That works.
I think they should bring back the show when there's a new government in
Yeah, yeah.
in 4 years' time, and it's a change of government, and then the BBC will have to change their ideas, book their ideas up.
Yeah. Matrix Lord. The paradox is the polls Disney has taken on a spin-off. They project it to be a ratings monster positively. They want more. Well, you can't if they dump the main show. Isn't that the problem? That we had a slight instinct. I do like the Sea Devils if they do them properly. Hopefully there's not lots of messaging, but I had a horrible feeling that if those 5 episodes of the spin-off without the Doctor are good, that's not Doctor Who. And that shows you how badly the main show's been run and written. If the spin-off does better, come on. Knots Landing was never better than Dallas.
I don't think the spin-off will be good, and because it's on BBC4, isn't it?
Well, probably. Yeah.
In channel BBC Three or something. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah. Well, it's by the same team, so the spin-off is going to be more of the same.
Matt McGee said, I still like Brendan's idea. Shows a Doctor from some point in the future, no number attached, give us fun adventures with weekly cliffhangers, and let's all agree as fandom. Come on, let's stop it now. Let's not say, where does this Doctor fit in? What's the origin? Where and actually, do you know what? You know, when we go on about the wilderness years, everybody then refers to Big Finish and some of the adventure books and all the rest of it. Can we actually say something controversial here? I'm going to say it anyway. Big Finish like to look for all the cracks. And I actually think it's destroying the main show because, you know, Jo Martin will do her Fugitive Doctor adventures and make it mysterious. I'm thinking, no, because then you get some fans going, I think there was a quote. If you go onto some of the websites, the fandom website, you've seen it, Jeremy, they list all the quotes and stuff from the Big Finish.
Yeah.
No. I'm a purist. It's a TV show. And so basically, I'm not allowing this. And so I'm worried that, well, if a new showrunning team said, right, the Doctor in the Future's number, who cares? Mysterious. You don't know what they've been doing for years. Nout. That Big Finish will go, oh. Now, if fans enjoy that sort of stuff, you go for it, but it's got nout to do with the TV show.
I think the show will come back, but it will probably be in 5 or 6 years' time.
Oh, you're optimistic. I'm picturing a much longer hiatus than that. Only in that the way people consume entertainment has changed. So long form television shows don't really seem to be the model anymore. And if we go 5 years into the future, that model may further shift. So I'd almost be willing to bet about 15 years.
Now, you said 15 years. Now, people are joining us still.
I will probably be here in 15 years' time.
No.
Fingers crossed there will be.
I think this stream will still be on. No,
there you go.
No, but the third paragraph, let's go back to it, because you've said 15 years, Divine and Dragon. And let's be honest, this is word on the set. These people are not stupid. Is that the BBC will shelve the series for at least 5 years. So that's taken us to beyond Keir Starmer. Oh, maybe they know something.
There you go.
What the show needs is a bit of reform.
The crew were told not to hold their breath. I mean, I've not heard stuff like this in media. Don't hold your breath for work on the series for at least 10 years. I mean, if that's what people are being told behind the scenes, go and get another job is what you're getting told, isn't it?
That's right.
Well, I mean, as I said, you know, it's pretty much kind of rumors, word on the set, you know, an insider, you know. So, I mean, they are sort of guessing. I mean, you know, it could go either way, really, couldn't it?
It could, but you would. Yes, I'm not expecting somebody who makes the tea on the set will know what's happening next. However, they will be getting some informed kind of. I mean, let's face it. They will see if there's a TARDIS set still up or not. They will see whether RTD's around and about. They will see various things that we don't.
Yeah.
And remember, if I go to the next one, as we scramble to find work, those responsible get to ride off onto other well-paid projects. So basically, what you've got is the scenario where these warehouses are not full at Bad Wolf. RTD seems to have sailed into the sunset to win some other BAFTA for another queer drama set in Canal Street with a 15-year-old trans character, I'm guessing. Meanwhile, these people who have put all their eggs into kind of, I'm a good artist, I'm a good set designer, I'm a good this, that, and the other, are going, where's the project gone? And of course, for a fact, if the project was storming it, they'd be going, we've got to make more, we've got to make more, we've got to make more.
I mean, eventually there will be new programs being made at Bad Wolf, and they'll have to employ obviously people that have been working on Doctor Who. So I think that there will be some sort of jobs there, but I don't think it'll be as consistent as when Doctor Who was made there.
Yeah.
If this is true, as in the accent bit, because remember, I'm showing everybody the English again because we keep getting more people joining us. Doctor Who is facing the axe because shooting's poised to quit. Now, if that's the case, how is everybody receiving that news? Right, so are you happy? Are you relieved? Because I have to say, unlike 85, Jeremy, I feel an element, if this happens, of kind of a tense relief. Now, I know that's an oxymoron, but because I'm relieved that no more damage could be done, but it's tense because there's no guarantee. That's kind of where I am. What about you in the thread? What about you, Jeremy?
I mean, it's a shame to be where we are at the moment in this particular situation. But to those people who said, "Oh no, it won't carry on. It's wonderful. There's nothing to see here," I will just say to them, "We told you so."
Yeah,
I mean, and they didn't listen. Nobody listened because they said everything in the garden's fine. There's not a problem.
They used to take the mick out of Doctor Who fans as anoraks because we would like apparently wobbly sets. We would like stupid special effects, and we'd still watch. Now, if that's what they believe, isn't it funny how we've started to turn away from it?
Yeah. I mean, when I went into Forbidden Planet, or I think it was Forbidden Planet in Manchester, whatever they call it, when I bought one of the Doctor Who toys, they said the shop assistant said, "What are you, a geek or a freak?" And I've been to thought. I said I'm a bit of both, actually. But but yeah, I mean, as I said, it's a sorry state where we are at the moment, but we knew that this was going to happen.
Yeah, I'm relieved, but you probably already could guess that we weren't going to get anything better. It wasn't going to improve the current situation. So I feel a certain tenseness because we don't know whether it's going to come back or how it will come back or if it can come back.
No.
I'm relieved that we're no longer going to see more bad Doctor Who.
Or more non-Doctor Who, because it was it was getting to that point. I thought I was watching Scooby-Doo or something. I mean, it was getting stupid. Matrix Lord says RTD takes care of his people. Does that include John Barrowman? Because if you look at all the interviews, and I'm getting anonymous sources on what he's saying, Chris Eccleston used to work closely with RTD. No more. John Barrowman, there's two people I'll say straight away. Noel Clarke. I mean, do you want me to make a bigger list? Obviously, Divine and Dragon, you say you're relieved. Super John says he's relieved. It's so sad, isn't it, for Doctor Who fans to be relieved? But and I get you. Ian, yes, I'm pleased with relief. XSM, it's needed a long break for ages. It's maybe come a bit too late. Eastland Burkholder, relieved, glad not continuing limping along. If it was a dog, you'd put it down. I'm honest with you. You would have just been kind. None of us wished this, but now it's possible. You think, right, let's plan for the next bit. Let's get this sorted. Lee, though, I'm angry. Doctor Who got millions wasted on it. I cannot believe they mucked it up. I cannot believe. We always thought once you got a bit more money, because everybody used to use that as an excuse, you thought it would be fine. Babette, good to see you again. The main series will be put on ice, but Disney will immediately start work on a feature film franchise reboot. Oh, well, that's a bit different.
I'd like to know where all this money has gone.
Yeah,
What's it been spent on?
and you've said this before, Jeremy. Where is it evidenced in the set? Where you know, when we, I mean, the production values have been all right. I'm not, fine, fine. But I haven't. There's been nothing in season one where I've gone, wow, in plot, wow, in character moment. Everybody's waiting for that character moment. I haven't seen it. Cloister Room. I'm not bothered if Gatwa's leaving, but hoping the show continues after a gap year at least. Let's have Michael Sheen or Richard Armitage playing a darker, more dangerous Doctor. Peter, the signs were there.
Yeah, well, I think it should be played by an actor who's a bit more jolly and plays it like a benevolent uncle, more of the kind of Patrick Troughton style, with a bit more eccentric, with it. I mean that might attract the audience and children, kids to it. You know what I mean?
What I'm trying to understand here as well, Jeremy, is Matrix Lord. Thank you for sticking with us because this is what we want. Ncuti Gatwa has accepted a new show on Disney Plus. You will be covering this soon, but that means Ncuti Gatwa is so. So let's just be honest. So this means this part of the of the news, the breaking news, is correct. That leaves us with a main actor doesn't leave a successful show unless, my God, they've won the lottery in Hollywood. And if Doctor Who is now lower down the pecking order than some non-descriptive Disney Plus other project, gosh, we've tanked. This was a prize to have. Ncuti Gatwa's interviews in only May last year were saying how stunning it was to be on this thing. Divine and Dragon, are you still good there?
I am still good here. I can't picture Gatwa continuing with this in any way, shape, or form. If he's gone on to Disney Plus show, that again just shows he's gone on to greener pastures. The money has to come from somewhere, and I don't think Disney is going to be shelling out for the BBC to finance this.
But it does mean there's something wrong. Come on, let's do it another way then. And I'm listening to what Matrix Lord is saying, but let's do it this way. Right, Ncuti Gatwa, let's just say they think he's doing amazing and they need to keep him because he's hot property. Let's just buy into that. RTD is still seen as the amazing showrunner. We're the critic idiots about ratings, but they can see the bigger picture. There's something to do with the season finale linked with the spin-off. Everything's all right. So why is the main actor leaving? Why is season 3 not confirmed? Why is RTD moving on to another project when, let's face it, in his career, he's only done one project at a time?
That's right.
There is something up. And if you see it like this, wouldn't RTD has fought Disney to keep Ncuti as a selection? So why would he suddenly be happy to just see him just drift away from the great project that's doing amazing? If it's doing amazing, raise the wage of Ncuti and keep him for one extra year. What? This is what I mean. So when Matrix Lord says, "Oh, he's got a Disney Plus project elsewhere," well, why have they let him go? And if it's because they haven't confirmed season 3, then why haven't they confirmed season 3? And Matrix Lord, if Disney have poached Ncuti from Doctor Who, which they were paying for, does that mean Disney's left Doctor Who then? This is what I'm trying to work out here. If it's a good news story, then where's the good news bit? And if the good news is, well, Ncuti's now on a Disney project elsewhere, Well, that means that Disney's not working against Doctor Who, which probably confirms they're not doing season 3.
Very probably.
That's kind of what I'm trying to work out. I'm trying to see the other side when people say, Brendan, you're finding shadows when there's none. I think Matrix Lord, you're confirming really that first part of the breaking news. Greg Smith, the last several years of Who has been like watching a train wreck in slow motion.
Very much so.
Yeah. Don't be afraid, says Randy. There's sometimes things sometimes need to break before it can be fixed. I think I used the word amputate. So
It's a bit drastic.
It is a bit drastic, but I kind of do mean it, don't I? I think from now on, after this season 2, I'd like if Doctor Who did come back that it had no link to the old series at all, apart from it's the same TARDIS and all the rest of it, but basically there's a massive gap in the middle, so you might as well not bother, that kind of thing. From Doctor in Distress to Doctor in a Dress, not sure we want this one back. But this is what I mean, and come on, let's go a bit wider. Star Trek Discovery. There's a lot of franchises out there that have tanked, and it seems to be when we go a bit woke, a bit DEI, they tamper with the character. To be honest, I didn't want this, but it sounds as though this is what's happening to Doctor Who. That actually, they make this Doctor so different from the others. The gayest Doctor ever, chasing rogue, all that sort of stuff. Very emotional Doctor for dark times. And you just think, you've actually changed the Doctor. That's all you're saying, is you've changed him. You've broken what I thought was an unbreakable... Jeremy, I think I've seen quotations over the years saying, this is such a genius concept, Doctor Who, that you can almost do anything with it. Well, he's done something with it that's broken it.
Very much so. And I just think Russell T Davies has made all the wrong moves when he could have made all the right moves. And in the same way, when Chris Chibnall took it over, I think the rot set in when Chris Chibnall took it over.
Yeah.
And okay, that Jodie Whittaker got 10 million for the first episode, but it was going down. You could see the ratings were going down, and the narrative was just not good enough, really, for the show.
No,
at all. I mean, having it on Sunday, I think, was a bad move as well.
But this, I mean, it had that sense of the 80s, didn't it? It was on Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night.
Yeah, Sunday.
I know that they started batting. They've messed on with Doctor Who. Now, yes, he's got it back to Saturdays, but they're messed with the streaming and the timings.
Well, they played around with the formula too much, and the formula is there, the format is there, and they should just stick to when it was the best and say, well, how can we replicate this but make it slightly more modern for today's generation.
Well, to follow up on what Jeremy is saying, look at what they did when they brought it back with Pertwee. You don't change the formula and you don't change the canon, you don't change the critical nature of the characters, but you do tweak it as needed in order to find a fresh audience and revitalize it, which they did. So it's possible to hold firm to canon and character and not mess with the formula and just tweak it enough when it's needing freshening up. But RTD did a little bit more than freshen things up.
Oh, he just went. To be honest, when I did his quotations the other day about his 5-part queer drama in Canal Street, it sounded as though it was the same interview as he did last year for Doctor Who. Same intent, same context, dark times. It looks as though he's going to do almost the same characterization. You can see what's going on. It's like Dot and Bubble, but in Canal Street. Now, can I just reference something that's going on in the thread? John Pace, good to see you. All should be welcome here on the Sensesphere. Difference of opinion is a must for a good discussion. Divine and Dragon teaches debate. I teach debate. We're both English teachers. I want this channel to have diverse opinion, and we respect it. I might disagree. I might think you're completely wrong. You might think I'm wrong. That's fine. I want our channel not to be a channel that just does an echo chamber. So I appreciate Matrix Lord saying what he says, because it gives us something to bite off. And I've already challenged it a bit, but some of the logic. Somebody's going to be wrong, but it's fun doing it, because at the moment, when fans don't know what's going to happen next, I am triggered, Jeremy, to 1985. And I remember, I can't, all I remember that day at college, and I was doing A levels, was the newspaper. I don't remember the afternoon. I don't remember the lessons.
No. I think we sort of, and a lot of the fans have sort of rallied around to get a campaign and get the show back on the air. You know, I do remember that. But sadly, I mean, some of them didn't want to rock the boat because they were having BBC visits to the studio, so they didn't take part in the Doctor in Distress, etc., or the campaign to bring the show back.
I mean, you were willing it on, weren't you? And then, in a way, J&T and Eric Saywood and Robert Holmes almost made a mistake with that Trial of a Time Lord idea. Really,
it wasn't a good theme. I think.
Again, it went all kind of fan fiction a bit, really, didn't it? It was an in joke, and I thought, I don't know. I've been saying for a while, haven't I, in streams, that I feel as though Stephen Moffat, Chris Chibnall, and RTD are bored with the Doctor Who concept, and they're trying to impose tasty new stuff because they're just bored. And that's the problem. If you're bored, just don't touch it, because if you're bored with the Doctor Who concept, I think you're bored of life. Andrew Evans here, Doctor Who's success has always been its infinitely flexible format. But I think RTD has found that there's a limit.
Yeah.
I think breaking the fourth wall. By the way, I was watching Invasion of Time Part 6 last night, and Tom Baker does stare at the camera when Mark II K9 appears. So I'm aware, and I don't like it then. Didn't like it. In fact, I hate Part 6 of Invasion of Time for a lot of reasons, honestly. So I think we always said quite blithely as Doctor Who fans and showrunners before and producers that it's got an amazingly flexible format. It does, but you can only still stretch so far, and I think we've found its finite limit. And it's not breaking the fourth wall regularly. It's not doing musicals. Remember, he has promised. I'm sorry, lads. I'm just going to keep throwing what he's promising. He promised for season 2 in plural songs. That's not Doctor Who.
No, it's Doctor Who on stage. Perhaps it might be all right on stage for like the adventure, the ultimate adventure, but not in the TV series, I think.
And it's not taking it seriously. I can't take any show seriously when the musicals are distinct. Rachel, who is trained in musicals, would say it's different. It's elevated emotion. It's just different. Doctor Who has this great dramatic conceit that it takes itself very seriously within the program, even though in a way it's kind of sci-fi gobbledygook. But we buy into that kind of conceit. But if you then put songs on top and breaking the fourth wall, you've busted.
Yeah. It's very much like when you have really, really good comedies, and at the end of the show, then the actors mingle in with the audience and wave and etc. It just breaks that kind of spell.
Yes. Well, we have. Honestly, it's great to see you, Disparu. None of us sleep. It is a big night. Davies wanted to do a crossover with Star Trek Discovery. I mean, we were all talking about that, the San Diego Comic-Con. In fact, you were on our show just around about then, or just before, weren't you, Disparu? And I have to talk to you again. This Doctor with STD would be very on brand. Oh, he did waffle on about crossovers, didn't he? He waffled on about, I have these ideas. And I remember saying to you, Jeremy, I'm sorry, my Doctor Who, there weren't many Doctor Who toys because they didn't make many, did they? But the Doctor Who toys never crossed over with my Star Wars ones. I admit they were different heights, but they didn't mix. My head loved the Star Wars universe, loved the Doctor Who universe, but I never wanted them to cross over. That was stupid.
Well, I used to have Lone Ranger by Marx, these those figures, and they never mix with the Doctor Who figures.
Nah. So I mean, Disparu, I almost feel I need to invite you. I mean, if you want to come on Disparu, because I think half the thread would love to hear what you have to say. But I'd have to see how I contact you, Disparu. But then we'll keep talking. This one, I love some of these names. Penguin Overlord. Eccleston said he saw the writing on the wall. Oh, do you know what? I loved reading the writer's tale, but I would love to hear the expose. This is bigger than JNT. This is what has really gone on since 2005. The truth. John Barrowman's version, the lot. Because there's a lot, isn't there? There is a lot.
Oh, yeah.
This is tasty. If RTD wants soap opera, by God, there's soap opera about, isn't there? There really is. So I'm trying to keep up with some great people coming on. Thank you. I said to some of the... this is Bill. I said to some of the 2005 writers, including Moffat, the series is infinitely flexible. You can write anything and crowbar the Doctor in somewhere. The last two Doctors have proven me wrong. We don't want to be proven wrong, but I think, yes, it's proven there is an absolute limit. Matrix Lord is saying he's hating the Star Trek. I hated Star Trek Discovery. They got all emotional. There was no need for it. Adrian Sherlock, there's a very deliberate effort to alter any long-running series that promoted the self-reliant and capable man hero. Now, there's the other point, lads. We have been attacked as a program since about 2014. Hellbent, the gender fluid Time Lords, Missy. Now, you can say you liked what Michelle Gomez did, fine. But I didn't like her being a female version of the Master. I wished she was something separate. So can I park that for a second?
Yeah.
It's been tampered with now since about 2014, where they've been messing with the gender fluids, the this, the that, the other. They've now had all their toys. They've had a play, and we are where we are. And so that's why I'm saying they got it wrong. They broke it. They broke the flexible format. I think we need, like I said, a producer to say the Doctor is a man. There's no gender fluid Time Lord, Time Lady nonsense. We go back to basics. I really do think that's what we need. And I think you're right saying that. I think that's where the mistake happened, because they tampered with it too much. I mean, Jeremy, the moment you saw a Time Lord regenerate into a Time Lady, I'm sure, like me, was one of the moments you were going.
Well, I was sat in my mum's conservatory when I heard the news that Jodie Whittaker was taking over, and I was shocked. I didn't think they'd do it, and thought, by God, they've done it. And from that, I think that's where the rot set in.
I thought that the moment we saw a Time Lord turn into a Time Lady, the very first time during Capaldi's run, I said, okay, they're setting the stage. They're going to do it.
Yeah.
I disagreed with the idea because at a genetic level, you're not going to change Y chromosomes into X chromosomes. You can repair telomeres. You can actually regenerate, if you will, and make a few cosmetic changes. But physiological changes, that's illogical. So as someone who likes hard science fiction, that told me they were getting ready to go down a fantasy road as opposed to a science fiction road.
Yeah.
I would have rather have had just, on Gallifrey, Time Lords and Time Ladies, and they kept it separate rather than, them regenerating into vice versa, you know what I mean?
Agreed.
Yeah, they've... But this is what I mean. We saw Destiny of the Daleks. We saw that scene when Romana picked loads of other versions of a woman. They didn't pick a man. We saw the end of the War Games when I know there were artist versions, but they were all men. This is just an imposition of an ideology that they tried to do in Star Trek Discovery. Michael's this amazing thing. She's much better than Spock. All these things. The Space Jesus obsession. And it tanks, and it tanks, and it tanks. We could even put up with Captain Kirk just having his lovey-dovey moments because we got back to basics. He was a captain, and he was number one, and you didn't mess with him. I just think they've messed with every franchise. They've messed with every idea because they want to do something they think is the zeitgeist. And unfortunately, things come and things go. But the concept, once you've done it once, especially with Doctor Who, because you see, Star Trek's lucky in one way. It just has another program like Voyager, Discovery, Next Generation. They're all separate entities, really. Whereas Doctor Who has this amazing linear process. And if you then ruin for quite a few years one whole element of it, I think that's when you do start to say dramatic words like amputate, cauterize, take that away. And I was not saying that before the season started. I was seeing those fans saying 2017 and no more. I was seeing them as, oh no, you can't deny an era just because you didn't like it. We all had a Doctor who wasn't our favorite, but it's all part of the linear. But now I'm thinking, it's over. Can't do it. I've killed everybody's. Let's have a look what everyone's saying here. We've got RTD had his grand time, says the Timemaker Reviews, taken his huge paycheck from the funding, destroyed Who, and soiled Disney's expectations. Now he's got money to fund his shows.
He's not without. I mean, he's not without. I wouldn't have thought.
Yeah. Well, Penguin Overlord is correcting me. We're a debate channel. Judi Dench was an excellent M. You just need the right actress and the right dialogue. Yeah, I agree. It's a rarity. Go on.
Sorry, that's. I mean, that M is different in the sense. I mean, they were talking about making James Bond into a woman, and I thought that's not going to work. I mean, M sort of works.
Yeah, good to see TARDIS on, Noel. How are you? Hope you're well. The show needs to go back to basics. Screw the big budgets, the great visuals. I agree on all that. Doctor Who is known for great writing and character development. No, it was. Because for a few years now, my God. Also, it's a sci-fi with a bit of history thrown in. Yeah, kind of history lights. That's kind of where we got to, wasn't it? A kind of Black Orchid level of history. Visitation level of history. Adrian Sherlock, you can change actors, but you can't change the character. The thing is, you can't change James Bond into Jane Bond. I would have thought that would break the franchise. Yeah. But for some reason, because Doctor Who is sci-fi, it's allowed. And I just think, no, you broke the franchise. It's limped on since then. Yes, there was bad writing. Maybe they could have picked a better female actress. I think she's a good soap actress, but you could have picked better and you could have written better. But we are where we are. They've shot that bolt. Yeah. I'm not going back there. Why? If you want a sci-fi female character, come up with a new concept, somebody, please. There's no need to stop tampering with Doctor Who. You've butchered Doctor Who for 10 years, and if you don't mind, go and do another show now. Leave Doctor Who alone now. It's had its experimentation, and I've had enough of it. Dead Man, I have no problem with a female master or doctor, but this only makes me more outraged at how RTD and Chris Chibnall have been ham-fisted with it. You're more flexible than me, Dead Man, but that's what I mean. Our channel will allow difference, and we all live with it. Let's have a look. I was literally arguing with someone earlier that the show was dying on its ass. Nice to see I was proven right.
Yes.
I know. Well, the thing is, the reason we feel like that, though, is because the deniers, if I put up a blooming stream about the ratings, and I'm full of analysis on my saloons, I don't waffle, and people come charging at you and they're saying, do you realize? And they come up with all this stuff, and I'm going, yeah, but do you realize that, yes, the overnights will be lower than they were before, relatively, but they're still... if they're lower than every other program that night on Christmas Day, and I think Doctor Who had a bigger budget than Gavin and Stacey. Doctor Who had a bigger budget than Strictly Come Dancing. It had a bigger budget than Call the Midwife. Why was it not shining? There's the question. But the deniers won't have it, and they attack you. I totally get what you're saying, because, people attack us because they don't want to hear. It's called critical thinking. That's all it is. John Henson, the Doctor is time scooped by the Time Lords when Capaldi regenerates. Get the people who made Endeavour, no friends of RTD. The Wirren, Crinoids, vampires, the Rutans. You see, you read that, and I'm going, yeah. I just go, yeah, go on, a bit of that, but we might need a little bit of convalescence first. That's a sad thing. Peter, if they really wanted to do something with a time lady, they could have done it. They chose to hijack the character of the Doctor. And now, actually, I'm getting a bit hardball now. Back off. No. Leave it alone. I've tried to be flexible, but you've damaged everything you've touched, New Who. Leave it alone. Stop it. Anon, nobody's going to watch his shows. Name a person who's ever talked about his shows without bringing up Doctor Who. Let's have a look. I mean, we've got loads of people. It's amazing. Lovely new friends. Please all subscribe. Shippenshaw, statement from the BBC. This story is incorrect. Doctor Who has not been shelved. As we have previously stated, the decision on season 3 will be made after season 2 airs. But we were saying, Shippenshaw, the Ncuti boat seems to have left. Matrix Lord seems to say he's left. So Ncuti's left. Then you've got the second issue, which is the showrunner has left for now. That's definite. There's nothing in RTD's television history where he could manage 2 shows at the same time like Stephen Moffat did. Never. He throws himself into it for good or bad. And I don't think in some ways he's logistically clever as Stephen Moffat. So adding all that together, I think we are where we are, that Ncuti's leaving. RTD has left, whether it's temporary or not. Season 3 scripts have been written, he says, maybe not all of them, but some of them by RTD. He's left them a template. He may not be the one in charge for season 3. Disney might have walked, and the BBC might be thinking, let's just hope season 2 doesn't tank, and then we'll decide whether we go in-house, try and get somebody else. But what we are saying is, Shippenshaw, is that statement from the insiders, the behind-the-scenes people, therefore could be pretty true. Word on the set is that the BBC will shelve the series for at least 5 years. If they haven't really got those scripts commissioned properly, if they haven't got a streaming partner or anybody to help with the budget, and the BBC haven't decided themselves whether to give it a green light, they haven't got a main actor, and they don't know if RTD is going to really properly commit to coming back, or whether they want him back with all these ratings issues. That's a year, 2, 3, 4. How many years are we adding here? That might be why that statement, Shippenshaw, is technically right, and so is that on the screen now. What do you reckon, Jeremy?
I do think Ncuti's gone from the equation, and I think the series will be rested for about 4 or 5 years. Then they might want to bring back season 3 after 5 years, but what that will look like and who will produce it, who knows.
And the other thing, Divan and Dragon, I know you're there, is if Ncuti thinks that his career can only be furthered somewhere else, that means he thinks Doctor Who is tanking.
Absolutely. So, again, I think the one thing we can be sure of is that Gatwa has moved on to greener pastures. And if he's gone, that changes everything in terms of what Bad Wolf or BBC or RTD would possibly want to do, because they'd have to get around changing their headliner. And as far as we know, RTD is gone as well. So, what can I say that hasn't already been said?
Yeah, I mean, we've got some amazing comments coming. I'll just kind of wrap some of these up. Super John, hello. Jane T said it was always a possibility for a female doctor, but he would never do it because he knew. Epic Fantasy, proven limits, stick within the bounds, highly successful. Cross those boundaries, dismal failure. I mean, Jeremy, if you just cast your mind at some of the classics we've had, You prove me wrong. Where was there a classic that broke the formula?
I would certainly say when Jodie Whittaker first took on the role, and then The Timeless Child. The Timeless Child was absolutely appalling.
But you'd never use the word classic, would you, on those?
Oh no, that's it, no.
But
Well, I mean, I suppose that what he's talking about, the classic Who.
as in, or any classics. If you were going to tell somebody, if you were going to try and promote Doctor Who from all its 61 years, if you thought that's a classic story, can you think of a classic story from Doctor Who, and it may be from New Who as well, where it broke the format?
Yeah, I think it was The Woman Who Fell to Earth. The first episode of Jodie Whittaker's tenure. And very, very possibly The Timeless Child. It was just dreadful, absolutely dreadful.
But you wouldn't call them classics. That's what I mean. You wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't call them classics. No,
Yeah.
no. I mean, all of Jodie Whittaker's season was just terrible.
I mean, we've got. Go on.
I mean, I thought there would be light at the end of the tunnel when Russell T Davies took over. I thought, he's going to do 2005. He's going to bring it back. He's going to do wonderful things with this. But when he said, I'm bringing back David Tennant, I thought, that's a bit odd, a bit strange. But, see, I wouldn't necessarily have done that. I thought, I know the reason why he has done it is to get the ratings back up.
But, Liverpool Phil, Doctors 9, 10, 11 and 12 carried gravitas. Remember 11 angry with the humans about the whale under the spaceship? Jodie and Ncuti are not leads, great actors, but can't carry a show like Doctor Who. I think there's been a looseness going on, because when you look at what RTD has said about the rushes, and then he adapts the script from what he sees of Ncuti, and then Ncuti says he was surprised he wasn't given any guidance. You think, how rushed or loose is this? And maybe, as you said, Divine and Dragon, there's the hubris element, because RTD needed to still sit down with the new lead actor and they think about the characterization.
I think that's right. They needed to work together to make a strong persona for the actor. Now, I do know that the actor is often chosen because they're going to bring something of themselves to the role. Tom Baker, was very honest about that. A lot of his version was him. But you still have to make sure that there is a good synthesis between the actor and the character to create that persona. Neither Jodie Whittaker nor Ncuti Gatwa had that character, so they couldn't carry the role. And at the bare minimum, to help them out, they had to have good stories, and they had no good stories between them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you see, Eastland Burkholder, Doctor Who was an authority figure, a rebel and an anti-authority figure, but not under Chibnall and RTD, because they changed the character. This is what I mean. They were bored with it. They needed to diminish it, because the issue is, in this DEI culture now that just is driving too much, you've got as was, a white male stale lead. And then you want to make the female companion, the Perils of Pauline from the 60s. We can't have a screaming woman. Okay. I'll elevate her status, her thinking, her importance, till in the end, she's more important than him. You've changed the show. You tried it once with Rose. Then you try it again with Donna and the Dr. Donna and all the rest of it. And female presenting Time Lords are better than male presenting Time Lords. Do you regret that, RTD? Because you're making the women characters more important than the main male lead. You diminished your main character, and I'm sorry, all roads lead to Rome. It's your fault. I mean, Divine and Dragon, that I think is the substantial problem. The focus on companion arcs, the focus on the companion story has diminished the Doctor from being what is just described there by Eastland Burkholder to somebody who says, cries when his 19-year-old goes to meet a dad.
No, that's absolutely true. The reality is the character with the primary agency needs to be the protagonist of the show. You can occasionally quote, elevate, unquote, a companion for a distinct episode, but it cannot be the arc of the show, and it can't be something that undercuts the significance of the protagonist. RTD definitely dropped the ball on this one.
Oh, but you see, this is when, as I say on my channel, no, I don't want an echo chamber. You need somebody who says, "Are you sure?" You need somebody to ask the question. You need somebody to actually say no. I mean, RTD isn't Space Jesus. They are people who are actually paying for this and were hoping this would work. And I'm sorry, he should have had more questioning. Now, as Noel says here, Ncuti may be under contract, as Matrix Lord has been saying in the thread, that he's still under contract according to Matrix Lord. But obviously, if the show's not being made, then he can have other projects and then come back. Right. But as Noel says, Ncuti may be under contract. If he wants out, he will get out. But, remember, we're trying to join the dots here. And as Noel's saying there, and I'll help Noel out here, when it says that Ncuti, an insider said, Ncuti doesn't want to be tied to the series beyond this and plans to relocate to LA with several Hollywood projects standing by for him. His team also see a lot of fan backlash from the series and don't want the perception of him still being a Doctor to get in the way of any future work. Now, that makes logical sense to me if you're just looking at yourself. And he has said in some interviews that he has a team of people that decide his next job. He really does take it all very seriously, which makes me surprised that he picked to be a plastic Barbie doll. He played a 16-year-old gay lad. He then plays another gay character wearing a dress in An Importance of Being Earnest, and then he plays a gay alien. I mean, if they're sitting down and picking all their roles, he seems to be saying, I need to play gay, and something very, very weird, not normal, because alien, Barbie doll, away. So I think this is true. I think what we've got here is Ncuti's just saying, I don't want to wreck my, when you're in acting, you're a hot property, then you're not. And he doesn't want to be pulled down by this. So I think, as Noel's saying, we need to kick back on this idea that, Ncuti's, fine and dandy. I don't think he is. Why would he be? I mean, he'll think he's getting attacked and the show's getting attacked because he's in it. That's slightly mistaken, but I think that's what he'll be thinking, don't you, Jeremy?
Well, yeah, I mean, if he really wants to play the part, that he'd be doing it for years and years and years. Or he'd say, I want to do this for at least 5 years. I have a 5-year contract or something. But quite clearly he's wanting to move on to new pastures and touch grass.
Yeah. And he was let down in another way, by the way, because I don't know how many times I've put up the quotation that he was surprised. He had an idea of what he was going to wear as a costume. And I think it was quite conservative, actually. And then he was told that On High had directed that there should be societal pushing, gender pushing outfits. And in season 2, he's got a kind of kilt cum skirt cum strange denim outfit, and you know what I mean. The casual viewer goes, I'm not watching this. And so in a way, Ncuti has been let down as well, because that wasn't his decision. I've seen the interview. He said that he thought he was just going to wear one costume like every other Doctor. He's been ill-served.
Oh, definitely. And certainly with the scripts as well. But as I say, you've got to have an actor who is going to also be committed to the show and not be written out of one or two of the episodes. So he's doing other projects at the same time. I find that very, very strange.
There's so much strange. Lee Smith is saying here, Divine and Dragon, what's your guess? Don't you think it's strange the BBC haven't even announced when season 2 will screen?
Right, it's going to be April, isn't it? April, May, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, I was under the impression that it was going to air in April, but, they aren't promoting it. They aren't advertising it. And what have we said before? You only pour good money after good money, not good money after bad. So they know that promoting it right now isn't necessarily going to serve them and their best interests. So they're kind of letting it languish. It's asphyxiating it.
Thank you, Second Life, by the way, because I did ask the question. Is there a classic story that broke the format? Mission to the Unknown. That's true. Thank you for that. XSM, Disney seasons 1 was so bad, I was almost convinced it was entirely AI generated.
It's a very interesting point. That's what
Yeah.
I sort of had an idea about that. I thought, I wonder if it is, but you can't really say anything, you know.
What, you mean the snot monster and all the rest of it was just too...
Yeah, I mean, the Devil's Cord. I thought, has this been written by a computer? This story, you know, you know, but allegedly.
Now we've got two schools of thought right next to each other. Matrix Lord, the same amount of time, 4 months, it takes to make RTD's new show is around the same time Ncuti will spend in his new Disney Plus show. But the difference is Ncuti's an actor and RTD's a showrunner. And RTD's whole television history is he can only do one project at a time, unlike Stephen Moffat. So therefore, yes, he's got 5 episodes, but he'll want to have full control of what happens with that 5 episode about Canal Street. Ncuti can go on to another project, of course. That's easier for him. So the time frame doesn't necessarily mean anything, because you read the writer's tale. RTD was his waking day and night was all Doctor Who. There's no way he could do anything else at all. You can't have one in post-production and he's doing this. That's too much. But Noel says all the BBC have to do is listen to the fans' concerns, correct it, write good stories, and with word of mouth rebuild the reputation and the ratings. I think it starts with a rest. I think it starts with, Noel, I was saying earlier to the lads, I think you actually need a writer's room of people led by a producer who sits down and says, how do all the aliens in the main ones, fit into one universe, a bit like the Klingons, the Romulans and everything. I think they need to make the rules. I think they need to make the rules that William Hartnell's number 1, just for the sake of no more faffing. And then they also need to make the rule that the next Doctor, when the series comes back, has no number. We don't know how they're linked to the other Doctors, and we just get on with it and stop fanning around talking about fan history, Doctor Who history. We stop it. We all need self-control. We need to get on with it. There's been so much faffing going on in New Who. A bit of this, a bit of that, a sprinkling of that. They have almost wrecked the franchise. Let's be strict. Let's be strong. Let's be disciplined. No more of this now. No more. And we shouldn't tolerate it either. I really am feeling stronger on that all the time. I really am. SG, Eccleston was fine, but some of his episodes were terrible. The World War III. Do you mind not farting while I'm trying to save the universe, please? The thing is, even if you accepted the farting, you then had the burping bin in episode 1. And then we've had the snot monster and the bogeyman this series and nappies. And you start to wonder, RTD, grow up. Grow up. If I made that many references in a series of my lessons at school, the kids would start talking. They really would. Grow up. You can do one cheap joke once to the class and you'll get away with it. But if you mention nappies and then you mention farts and then you mention bogies and then you mention burps, they'll start to go. They will. And that's what we're doing about you, RTD. Grow up. And may I just say one other little thing? Don't you dare get all serious with your queer drama on Canal Street and it's 5 episodes of pure drama, and yet you mess with our show. I'm sorry, because you see, that's his show. You know, the queer drama, it is done his way. Nobody messes with it. It's my master plan. But don't you dare mess with Doctor Who. Stop it. It's not your show. You're the custodian. And this is what I find really nauseating about RTD. He's faffed with it so much, and then he freely goes somewhere else. No, stop it. Stop it. Stop it. So yeah, Eccleston was fine, but some dodgy episodes. And of course, he takes all his projects, like years and years, so seriously. And yet Doctor Who is treated like some toy like some stupid hobby that just brings the money in. I can't stand it. I really can't. I mean, Jeremy, I think I'm getting worse.
Well, I mean, I had initial anger ages ago, and now I'm just sort of drifting along. But now, today, I feel a bit sad because obviously,
It's
you
sad.
think cancellation is probably just around the corner. But we've been talking about this for ages over a period of time, haven't we? I mean, a lot of people have been talking about it over a period of time, saying, we think this show is going to be cancelled.
Yeah.
And there's nothing much we can do about it. But there's season 2 to watch for those people who want to watch it, or fans who want to watch it. And best of British luck with that one.
I know. And now, and as we've been doing for ages since season 1 showed, is like epic fantasy. Once you understand that the original Rose Tyler was RTD's self-insert character, it all makes perfect sense. Can you remember one of the very first interviews he gave about Doctor Who when they came back in 2005? RTD said he'd always imagined as a kid being the female companion with the Doctor. And I thought, is this a gay thing? Because I'm a gay man. I wanted to be the Doctor. I didn't.
Me too.
I didn't want to be
the Doctor.
I didn't want to be Sarah Jane Smith. I didn't want to be Leela. But he was making it sound as though I've always wanted to be the companion with the Doctor. And I thought, I don't know what sort of fan you were. So I think, Epic Fantasy's pointing out that his idea of Doctor Who isn't quite ours when he thinks he's a super fan. People agreeing with what Noel said. Toymaker Reviews there, for example. People have enjoyed my little rant. It's taken a while, but we get there in the end. Peter, I don't like being told I should be happy a legacy character I loved was changed because someone thinks I need him to change to my race and gender. I've never understood that. I've always been probably working out that I was gay, but I didn't need to see any gay characters on telly. I worked it out myself. We're all quite grown up. It's amazing, really. I hate the way these media lovies are so patronizing and think we're all and want to infantilize us all. This idea that I need to see me. No, I don't. In fact, I don't want to see me on TV. When I edit some of these recordings, I hate it. I do not want to see anybody like me on TV. Sorry. It's a load of rubbish, isn't it? When did this Divine and Dragon? It's your fault. It's America's fault. America came up with all this tosh about, you have to see yourself on TV. Everybody needs to be represented for a day. All that tosh has now poisoned a lot of what's going on in TV. You might have your Trump executive orders now, but the BBC are well ingrained now.
Oh, yeah. Well, I cannot deny it. I know that the movement started in America, and it spread its tendrils everywhere around the globe in the last decade, basically. It's unfortunate that we're now able to kind of undo the grasp of these tendrils, and some things will be corrected. But I think there's been a lot of collateral damage, especially in the creative arts, which means franchises like Doctor Who or Star Trek or Star Wars have been irreparably tarnished by what's happened.
Yeah.
I mean, Brian in Canada, we've got everybody everywhere. I hope everybody's subscribing. Please give us a like. I mean, we're busting a gut here because we're passionate. We're in Britain at the moment. Divine and Dragons in America, all funny hours. But, because we're passionate, can you just give us a nice like and a subscribe and a bit of a repost? Because we'll keep chatting and give us questions. I mean, if anybody needs to go to bed, they'll tell me, but I've got a gob on me. Brian, considering we've got 26 years on the first run and another 20 years on the revival, maybe it's time. I know we've all got different opinions. Lee Smith thinks we need a detox alert. When Brendan's going to kick off on one, I know I should warn everybody. I mean, he's the one detox now. But the truth is, what I've always been saying for quite a while now is this is what Doctor Who should be. And I don't know the last time I saw it. It's easy, really, isn't it?
Very easy.
I mean, just scare the kids. Get people talking in the playground. Get people talking at work about Doctor Who. And saying something's weird. Something was strange that we saw last night. What do you think that is? Mystery, thriller. A lot of people in the thread over this whole stream have talked about bring it darker. If you were the showrunner now, Jeremy, being a Doctor Who fan, probably a better one than RTD, to be honest, what would you honestly do if you were given only one season to save it? What would your style be? What would your pitch be?
I'd go back to making it retro, making it more funky, making it, having a popular actor, making the character more amenable and accessible. So you get children that like the character, that adults like the character and find it's good.
Yeah.
And I would probably put all my eggs in one basket and have a monster season. And certainly you'd have a script editor and some very good writers. But are those writers about? That's the thing. And certainly it would all be science fiction.
Yes, I was going to ask that. What does everybody in the thread think? I'm going to ask Divine and Dragon. Now, we all know where we stand with Doctor Who, but we all see what's on TV. Should Doctor Who, if you were the showrunner to save it for one season, would you make it heavily sci-fi, as in Christopher H. Bidmead style sci-fi? Would you make it sci-fi fantasy lighter? Would you do those light historicals and stuff like that, like a season 19? Where would you pitch it, Thread? What about you, Divine and Dragon?
I would probably try and go back to, say, 6 stories over the course of the new season. I would create 3 episodes, 30 minutes per, so that you have the cliffhanger effect. I would try and create something closer storyline-wise to the first season of Pertwee. I'd want something that was closer to hard science fiction. And I would try and create original threats as opposed to repeat threats that we've seen constantly. I definitely would want to reestablish the Doctor as what we know him to be, not as what New Who has fancied him to be. I'd basically make my gamble on that.
And I would add all the other little bits and bobs. For example, I think it's time that the TARDIS was bust. It's become too easy to land it, almost like a space shuttle. It's become too easy for it to land exactly where you want. That moment in Wild Blue Yonder, if they were trying to create jeopardy, again, an RTD script, it's all too neat. Donna Noble was about to die. The flame, the explosion had set off. The flame was coming down that hallway, wasn't it? And the TARDIS, remember, he'd got the Rondonna, and he suddenly had something on his TARDIS that said, "You've got the Ron, she's got the Ron, her fingernails are longer," or something like that by half an inch. And then he suddenly went back and landed a microsecond before the real Donna was frazzled. I mean, I hate that whole idea of the TARDIS being that perfect. I want the sonic screwdriver destroyed. J&T was right. Let's get Visitation Part 3. Destroy that stupid thing. I don't like seeing all those stupid toys anyway. And if you're into those blooming toys, go and find another program. Go and play with some Lego. It's very heteronormative. Stop it. No sonic screwdriver. Bye-bye. TARDIS doesn't know what it's doing. Can we get the randomizer back in, please? Can we just get on with it? Because the Black Guardian's somewhere. I honestly think we need to, it's not just saying make the Doctor mysterious and don't give him a number anymore. I also think we need to make sure the TARDIS doesn't know where it's going. Jeremy, I want that moment when they land, when they materialize, that they don't know where they are. They don't know much about it. The scanner may not be working. I want that again. I want because you actually have the tension and the jeopardy from the first seconds.
But the show is a slightly different format now, so they don't have time like they would say in the the early episode of that, the Daleks, because we're now doing 50-minute shows, so they haven't got that kind of pacing. So they'd have to do it over 2 or 3 episodes, over 2 or 3 weeks.
They created their own problem, Jeremy, didn't they? It has to be one episode.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because they believe that that's the way television should be digested now.
When every other show is doing cliffhangers and stuff. I was just watching Bodies, cliffhanger part 2, cliffhanger part 3.
But I've not seen that. I tell you what, I have been watching of late. I've been watching some old Doom Watch episodes, and I thought they were quite interesting. Very good.
I just think he always pretended. Oh, he did probably watch a lot of television, but I think he's actually. I think he probably knows too much television and has now got too clever about it, rather than thinking, "I know my Doctor Who. Let's do Doctor Who." I think his eyes are going elsewhere, and I think he's trying to be. I don't know, getting the writers of Loki and trying to do that chummy thing and this chummy thing. It's all too lovey darling. When actually, I think actually, if the thread stayed here and we all give each other a factor or an ingredient, we could actually start to craft a script better than AI would. I think we could do it. SG, I remember it was another source of controversy when RTD said he was bringing the sonic screwdriver back. And there's an element of it being back, but then look what it does now. It sniffs the grass. I mean, with Jodie Whittaker, it did everything. I mean, honestly, you didn't need a house. You didn't need a blender. You didn't need anything. That Sonic seemed to do everything. And the other thing about New Who, which I cannot stand, is it's a blooming Harry Potter wand. They're always pointing. Every promotion shot, they're pointing like this. I'm sorry, John Pertwee held it rigidly. Like that. The statuesque John Pertwee, none of this. The Space Jesus, bye-bye. The sonic screwdriver that does anything, no, bye-bye. I used to love it when the screwdriver couldn't do it because it was an old wooden door or something. I just loved it, that sort of thing,
I don't mind it as a prop. I quite like it, but I think it's sort of, when it can do this, it can do that, and do something else. It's a tease made and whatever. I think you're stretching the credulity too far.
Oh, but everything, and then we'll sing a song, then we'll break the fourth wall.
Yes.
Then it's like, and then the Doctor cries, and it's like, oh, this is naff. Simon Anthony, still with us. When a storyline ended in the Hartnell era, there was a cliffhanger to start the next story group. The TARDIS crew needed a rest between emergencies. And I just think, why can't we do that? And remember, I've made the argument now, and I've been doing it for a while. If you've only got enough money to make 8 episodes of Doctor Who hour-long episodes, why don't we have 16 episodes of half an hour? And then we get it kind of is present in the television calendar for longer, gets the kids longer. You've got 15 cliffhangers there. I'll have that. It's RTD who's made the rules that he can't live with. Sorry, mate, I didn't make those rules. You got it wrong. Back to what we want. Half an hour Doctor Who, more scattered across the year, and some cliffhangers, and get the kids talking about it. Dead easy, mate. You're on the wrong subject. Back off. Sean Cryer, it's a bad format, Jeremy. We need longer stories to develop stronger characters. All the character development moments are robbed by telling half of the story in the pre-credit sequence.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So see, bring back 25 minutes. Yeah. Daryl Joyce is still with us. Have we all got a sleeping bag and a flask? Doctor Who was very carefully devised and crafted in 1963. Go back to that template and it would work again. We need a David Whittaker. That's what we need. But that's the same as I was saying with the Gene Roddenberry thing. We need a writer's room. We need them to think about the whole universe before they write one script. I think what's happened is RTD has rushed back with the specials, has rushed into season 1, realised he needed to get season 2 done as well, and get the spin-off done. And it's been a mad race. And there's been no reflection, no pre-planning, no logistical thinking. It's been a mess. And hello, we are where we are. and people are still apparently denying that this is in a mess. I mean,
Well, they need to find out what makes the show tick, and go back to the halcyon days and think, how can we produce this reasonably in terms of costs without big budget, but make it work as it used to in the 1960s and 70s and 80s.
Yeah, and Divan and Dragon, are we being old-fashioned dinosaurs by saying that?
No, we're not. What we have a memory of is what worked. That's the key. What they're doing now is not working. So do the math. Would you rather do something that worked or something that obviously is not working?
Yeah. Adrian Sherlock, when I saw Aliens in the cinema, I had no problem with Ripley being a woman. No, I didn't either. I thought it was brilliant. When I saw Beverly Hills Cop, I was fine with Axel being African American. I don't see a need to swap things with characters. No, I don't either. TARDIS Zone, I'm agreeing with you. Midnight was a great New Who episode. Yeah, I loved it. Classic one.
And it fitted the 50-minute format.
Yeah. But equally, you could have had 30 minutes and a brilliant cliffhanger in that, if you think about it. The other thing is I like Turn Left. I thought Turn Left was they had a bit of politics in it, but I loved that. The concept of the Doctor's dead and Donna and the family were like refugees. It was grim. I like that concept. 2024 Chess Parrot, all pile into the TARDIS and see what happens in 5 years' time. Will we be here? I mean, it's quite frightening when you do that kind of thing.
That might speed up the government a bit, and we might get to the next general election. That might be good.
You know, when we all get to an age when you don't want to wish your life away, thinking, right, I need the Doctor to be off, then I need a few years, and then I need Doctor Who to come back. I can't wish my life away like that now. I can't do that now. No. What I can do is do this live stream when I was supposed to be packing my bags for Benidorm. I think I'm going to be going on the plane still streaming at this rate. But
you're going to forget William Wokey.
Oh, the puppets are coming. The puppets are coming to the Benidorm, yeah, because what
the vacation is for the puppets. You know that.
The thing is, I feel as though I can't. I mean, the puppets are on the honeymoon. I mean, you know, this is this is mad.
Get them through customs. What are these?
Yeah, the Americans seem to kind of maybe they knew who they were. Just while everybody's with us on Sunday, while I'm still in Spain, we've got a really good Sontaran Experiment review, and the Who pets are in that 3 times over. I've got special effects and everything. We've got I've got Hugh on Wednesday doing mental health in Doctor Who, representation, lunacy, madness, and mental health. Vincent and the Doctor, the man with the cave drawings in the Silurians. We've got all that stuff. So yes, there's 4 shows I've parked for this week, even though I'm not apparently here. All very timey-wimey. Lee Smith is just saying, can the puppets swim? The puppets will be thrown from balconies. You know what I did last year? They were flying through the air. They were stabbing each other. You need violence. And by the way, panel and thread, here's my challenge. When I get back, it's only a week, we have got another format, which is the puppets interviewing you in a Doctor Who chat show. And it's a short format. There's set questions and fast questions, and they really will destroy you. A bit like the Muppets. So Jeremy, Divine and Dragon, anybody in the thread who's game for a laugh and wants to be challenged by the Who pets, to be challenged on why they like Doctor Who, what they liked about Doctor Who. There's nothing tricky in the questions, but they will try and ridicule you. So I just need guests who are willing to be destroyed. And remember,
fun.
Well, I've got RTD back next week as well. RTD, you know, telling us about his taught 2-parter. We've got him back next week. So yes, there's a lot of fun ahead. I have fun having the Who pets, so we always take them on holiday. So this was the news that was Divine and Dragon. Is there anything we haven't mentioned that is starting to come to your mind now about this whole apparent news?
A sense of inevitability. I think that's the term that I would use. We've been talking about this for a long time. There's nothing fresh that we've not already discovered, but it does reaffirm a lot of our expectations at this point. Is that fair?
Yeah. We've been talking about it for, over months and months and months, haven't we?
Yes.
The situation.
I don't really... I'm not getting... None of us are surprised, and that's the worry, actually. You can have the tweaks. It's not confirmed yet and all the rest of it, but I think we know where we are. When I join the dots and see that the insiders are unhappy, they think Ncuti's gone to Hollywood, when people don't know where their next job's going to be in Cardiff. Now, this one, by the way, this is also what they were saying. The show has been damaged in recent years, and there's a lot of people who've been working on the show for years and now being cast aside due to poor leadership. This is a quote from Bad Wolf insiders. People warned some episodes were getting too caught up on an agenda rather than telling a story, and those people got shouted down and ignored. Oh,
interesting.
You see, this is it. How did Brendan forget that slide? Let me just show you again. So basically, they've talked about the insiders saying Ncuti's going to Hollywood and doesn't want his kind of reputation destroyed by Doctor Who. And then let's remind ourselves here, and I'll get Jeremy's thoughts on it, and then the thread and Divine and Dragon. The show has been damaged in recent years, and there's a lot of people who've been working on this show for years are now being cast aside due to poor leadership. People warned some episodes were getting too caught up on an agenda rather than telling a story, and those people got shouted down, ignored. Your thoughts, Jeremy?
Well, this is probably what we thought for a while. And it's the same when we expressed our views, we got shouted down. Saying everything in the garden was rosy. There wasn't a problem. There's nothing to see here. Move on, And obviously, quite clearly, there have been problems, and there are problems.
Yeah. Didn't RTD brag about the fact that no one would challenge him? He wouldn't allow anyone to challenge him.
Yeah.
And this simply verifies that.
Yes, basically, Divine and Dragon, he said in the interviews, he said, I wouldn't work with anybody who questions me. And then the only caveat he had to that is he respects Julie Gardner and Jane Tranter so much he doesn't want to let them down. But he still didn't say anybody challenges him. And I think somebody who did challenge him a little bit was Julie Gardner in the first era, but she's now in LA. She's not there. Jane Tranter's here. They've swapped kind of locales, really, haven't they? So I think Julie Gardner did question him, because we've seen the evidence in the writer's tale and that, Julie Gardner was, are you sure? What was it? But she's further away now, and it's a different concept and everything.
I mean, I still can't understand why they had to have 7 executive producers. I don't get that concept.
I don't get concepts like people who might have been writing bits and bobs for Doctor Who magazine suddenly can get to edit Classic Who. Phil Collinson, who did do the first era and has worked with RTD on lots of projects, I grant that, but he's worked a lot in soap operas, and suddenly he's the executive producer of the editing of Classic Who. There's no background of it.
No.
It's stuff like that, Jeremy, that bothers me, that it started to be jobs for the boys. But then suddenly they would hit some tick boxes to show they're worthy. It was the worst of the media I always found, that it's not, they say one thing, but they do another. I remember seeing a wrap shot recently of Doctor Who, the whole cast and the behind the scenes. And it was, I mean, if they're practicing DEI, it wasn't shown. And you just start to think, actually, you waffle on too much, you lot. You say one thing, but you do another. You see, what we've seen with the media and ITV and everything is the waffle on about DEI till the cows come home. On camera, they make it very DEI, but behind the scenes, it's not. So actually, it's just all show. It's actually not substance. That's what I'm finding. And when people are criticizing the poor leadership, I can't think you can go beyond RTD because he's made it all his.
Yeah.
I mean, not Jane Tranter, not Phil Collinson. And I grant what you're saying, Jeremy, that there's, umpteen blooming executive producers. But doing what? It's a bit like in the NHS. We have loads of people managing, but managing what?
Well, you wouldn't have 7 chief executives of a national health hospital. You have one chief executive.
Yeah. Well, and we've got issues with all of these big bloated organisations.
Mind you, they do have an assistant chief to the chief executive, and then the assistant has an assistant to the chief executive.
And the NHS does have a lot of DEI managers.
It's not just NHS; it's other organisations as well.
The police
and BBC.
Yeah, that was the week that was woke. We were discussing that, but so that first paragraph is fascinating, Divine and Dragon. That people behind the scenes are pointing the finger at poor leadership.
Well, I think that's a fair assessment of the situation, because I cannot believe that absolutely everyone in cast and crew, and I mean everyone, was a carbon copy of RTD and the way RTD thought and wanted to operate. On the other hand, if they did articulate what they felt, certainly if they articulated it strongly, they'd simply be dismissed. So it was in their professional best interest to keep their mouths shut and know that RTD is tanking the ship.
And there you've answered the reason this always fails. Because when you get this ideology push, people in the media nowadays daren't speak up because they'll be cancelled. And that is so far away from Barry Letts sitting down with Terence Dix. That's so far removed from Robert Holmes sitting down with Philip Hinchcliffe. So far from Verity Lambert, David Whittaker, and that crew. It's so far removed that it's not healthy. I mean, after I used to do streams on Sundays, I've got panelists saying, "Oh, you're not going to do RTD again next week." I get people challenging me. I get people writing to me saying, "You're going to stop going on about this, aren't you?" And you're going to. People will challenge your content, and you have to listen. I don't think RTD. People will say openly because I don't run YouTube, but. He is quite powerful in the media, and yes, I think you'd have to be brave or stupid to question him if you want a job.
I think it has probably been a bit like that, but as I say, I think Ncuti's gone, and I think Russell T Davies is gone, and the question is, will there be a season 3 or 4 in some sort of description in 5 years' time or wherever, 2 or 3 or 5 years' time? That's the big question now.
Well, it's a big question, and our answer is in that second paragraph, Jeremy. When they say people warned some episodes were getting too caught up on an agenda rather than telling the story, and those people got shouted down and ignored. Therefore, we can't have season 3 or season 4 until all those people are gone who wouldn't listen.
Yeah.
And how long will that take in the BBC? Sorry, Divan and Dragon.
No, you're absolutely right, Brendan. You nailed it. You've got to clear house of the agenda drivers that are on top, forcing everyone to comply. Until those people are gone, you can't fix the problem.
Yeah. One other question before we start to wrap up, but when you heard Divine and Dragon that Disney had no presence at all at a big convention in America and released no posters, no promotion, no nothing, did that make you think something is wrong or that they're just trying to save money? I mean, what's going on there?
That was a red flag. If you're in the process of trying to promote a show, you cannot leave any stone unturned. You have to do something. I don't care if it's to put up a single poster in a single booth and have someone passing out flyers. You have to do something. It's part of the process. If they've pulled everything, that means they've pulled out. Red flag.
Yeah, season 2, they've paid for it, but they're not promoting it yet. I mean, when you look at San Diego Comic Con, and they had part of the TARDIS set and part of this and part of that, and it was all there. Jeremy, does this have any clues to you?
Oh yes, it's a big clue. But I mean, as I say, when Russell T Davies was being interviewed on the One Show, the way he was talking, he said, "Oh well, Doctor Who will go on in other formats and whatever."
Yeah.
I thought, why are you saying that? You wouldn't be saying that if you were confident that it was going to be season 2, season 3, and 4 and 5. And I thought, oh, this sounds like they're pulling the plug, Disney are, on the show.
Yeah, and on my Friday, I've got 2 shows on Friday. One of them in the morning is when I normally do the detox, is with Simon Anthony. He was a videotape engineer, and he's got loads of behind-the-scenes stories about Kinder, Photo Doomsday, Earthshock, 5 Doctors, you name it. So be on for that one. But then at 7 o'clock, instead of That Was the Week That Was Woke, Brendan's got his saloon special on the countless missteps in RTD strategy. There's a lot going on. And like I said, on Sunday, we've got the Sontaran experiment. So please, all I ask before bed is a subscription, a repost, and a like, please. Because I haven't packed my bags yet. I've given it to this channel. And I'll be a happy person on holiday then. But it's been a pleasure tonight. And well, a pleasure as in it's fascinating. I've never thought we'd be on top of breaking news, but we are where we are. I know we're not really relieved, really, are we? I mean, this is not what Doctor Who fans want to hear.
No, we want the good news, not bad news.
Agreed.
I know.
I mean, some people will say it's good news that they're getting rid of Russell T Davies, or we assume they are, and Ncuti's gone. But we were hoping for a little bit of some good news.
Yeah. And if anybody's joined us now, you've only missed 3 hours, and we have really gone over all the issues. As soon as this is finished, have a quick look. We go through the details. They're all there, and it's quite alarming. And even though people have poo-pooed some of it, we can't poo-poo all of it. That is an issue, and thank you, everybody. Like and sub and go crazy. And please, there's 4 recorded shows this week. And yeah, we'll be back.
We're now going up the Wooden Hill to Bedfordshire.
We will. And this is when Brendan will make a mistake. He didn't load up his credits. So you're going to see a disaster at the end. But that'll just cheer you. And then you'll see the right thing come on. Who cares? I mean, my production values and what RGGs are. So thank you, Jeremy. That was a last
No problem.
.com. It was fun though, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, I'm just gonna go.
Oh no, I'm so sorry.
I've got work in a few hours.
I know.
Sweet.
Thank you very much, Jeremy, for giving us your time. And
No problem.
The same with you, Jeremy. You're
All the best.
as
Nice to see you all.
Oh yeah.
Cheers, DD.
This was great fun.
Yeah.
Yes. So what I do is, as I'm talking, I'm going to do it properly, everybody, because that's how you do it nowadays. And that's when we just do